Technological divergence from the Type 59. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101, $5 million for a wingling aircraft. Abdul felt an intense surge of excitement, as if every cell in his body had been activated. His eyes widened as he felt the wondrous sensation of his body lifting off the ground and gradually rising. The experience made him feel like a free-flying bird, his heart filled with joy and satisfaction. Wow. Is this the joy of flight? It's amazing. Abdul exclaimed excitedly, a beaming smile on his face. He had never felt the allure of flight so deeply before. In that moment, he felt as if he were in a whole new world. This is such a joy. I must buy a few of these wingling aircraft and bring them back home, Abdul thought to himself. He knew such an experience was absolutely worth having. The wingling aircraft would not only bring endless fun, but also allow him to flaunt his wealth. Those sports cars are outdated. Now, flying is what the rich should pursue, Abdul muttered to himself. At this time, Lin Chenran shouted loudly from below, Abdul, you can try to fly forward, but don't go too fast. After all, this is your first test flight, so safety is the priority. Hearing this, Abdul nodded to show that he understood. Abdul pressed the forward button, and the wingling aircraft began to move forward slowly. Since it was his first attempt, Abdul did not increase the speed too much, but carefully controlled the aircraft. Although his movements were a bit clumsy, he still successfully mastered the basic operating skills. Watching Abdul flying in the air, the Saudi representatives in the Camel region had envious eyes. They couldn't help but exclaimed, "This is so cool. We also want to have a wingling aircraft like this." These Saudi representatives in the Camel region expressed their interest in the wingling aircraft. Salman walked over to Lin Chenran, his eyes filled with anticipation and curiosity. He asked softly, "Lin, do you still have any pterosaur aircraft?" Lin Chenran smiled and nodded, replying, "Of course, but we have a limited supply." At this moment, the Saudi representatives from the Camel region also gathered around, their eyes gleaming with excitement. One of them eagerly said, "We want to try it too. We want to feel the sensation of flying." Lin Chenran's lips curled up slightly, as if he had anticipated their reaction. He replied gently, "Okay, since everyone is so interested, I'll arrange it." Salman and the others smiled brightly upon hearing this. Lin Chenran continued, "However, due to the high cost of pterosaur aircraft, we've only produced 3 so far. Abdul is playing with one. I'll have our staff bring them over right away for the remaining 2. No problem." Salman agreed. Salman and the other representatives waited with great anticipation and excitement. They imagined themselves soaring through the air in their pterosaur aircraft, as if transformed into free birds. A moment later, 2 brand new pterosaur aircraft were wheeled out before the crowd. Their metallic sheen gleamed, their wings spread, a truly magnificent sight. "Thank you so much for your trouble." Salman thanked him profusely. "Salman, you're welcome." Lin Chenran then jokingly said, "Salman, by then, only your country in the Camel region of Saudi Arabia will have the financial resources to purchase pterosaur aircraft." Salman waved his hand and declared proudly, "Lin, if it's truly feasible, we will definitely purchase a batch. Rest assured, it could be used as both a weapon of war and a tool for entertainment, killing 2 birds with 1 stone." Price? That's never a consideration for the Saudis in the Camel region. A piece of cloth on my head, I'm the richest man in the world. Asking the Saudis to consider price is an insult. Why would rich people even care about price? Salman, we also put gentlemen before villains. You just saw Abdul signing the waiver agreement. Lin Chenran said seriously, this needs to be made clear in advance. The testing and use of such high-tech products may involve certain risks. If there is no clear division of responsibilities, the consequences will be disastrous in the event of an accident. Salman nodded. He understood Lin Chenran's concerns and said, "No problem, we will sign a waiver agreement." Since Abdul dared to sign a waiver agreement, why shouldn't they dare? After Salman and other representatives of Saudi Arabia in the Camel region, signed the waiver agreement. Lin Chenran waved to the staff of his own 077 mechanical arsenal and asked them to take the representatives of Saudi Arabia in the Camel region to test fly. Salman, you can go over there and communicate with our test pilot. He will tell you in detail how to control the Wingloong aircraft. Lin Chenran pointed to the front, where an experienced test pilot was standing, waiting for their arrival. Salman and other Saudi representatives from the Camel region couldn't wait to walk towards the test pilot, their hearts full of anticipation for the flight experience. At the same time, a group of Yan state military leaders gathered around Lin Chenran with great interest. They showed great interest in the pterosaur aircraft, designed and manufactured by the 077 mechanical arsenal. They looked at it curiously and cast expectant glances at Lin Chenran. At this time, Old Welly couldn't contain his inner excitement. He lowered his voice and asked Lin Chenran quietly, "Lin boy, how much does an advanced pterosaur aircraft cost?" Lin Chenran turned around and showed a sly smile. "Old Welly, the price of a pterosaur aircraft is very expensive." Old Welly said impatiently and irritably, "Lin boy, don't let me beat you for your grandfather." I dare not. I dare not." Lin Chenran subconsciously wiped the sweat from his forehead and muttered in a low voice, "A pterosaur aircraft costs $5 million US. Hiss. A group of military leaders took a breath of cold air. This price is too expensive. A pterosaur aircraft costs $5 million US, which is equivalent to more than 3 apocalypse tanks. The price of an apocalypse tank is only $1.5 million US. And now the pterosaur aircraft is several times that. $5 million US. Did I hear it right? Or you are wrong. This price is really expensive." Old Welly was so surprised that he was speechless. Before, Lin Chenran was selling pterosaur aircraft to them. That was something their Yan country military could afford. Although it is beneficial to special operations, spending $100 or $200 million US to buy a pterosaur aircraft, this is obviously not cost effective. With $100 or $200 million US, the Yan country military can organize several special forces. The investment is not proportional to the return. Chapter 102, or $300 million order. As Lin Chenran had said, the Wingloong aircraft was a toy for the rich and a powerful weapon for the armies of wealthy nations. For the Yan Kingdom military, the situation was more complex. While they could afford to shell out $100 or $200 million, purchasing a Wingloong aircraft was simply not worth it. Mr. Welly, future wars will be high-tech battles. Whoever possesses more advanced technology will have the advantage on complex battlefields, Lin Chenran bluntly stated. While the Russian steel torrent was impressive and a powerful deterrent, the Eagle's high-tech warfare model proved far more efficient. It could quickly destroy all valuable targets and paralyze the enemy's command system before the enemy could react. It could even lead to complete defeat before the enemy even realized it. A Yan Kingdom military leader stepped forward and stated, "Director Lin, you understand our military budget situation. Spending $5 million just to purchase a single Wingloong aircraft is a disproportionate investment for our military." The Yan Kingdom military also longed for more advanced and technologically advanced weaponry, but currently lacked the financial resources to do so. "Yes, once the domestic economy develops, your military spending will increase," Lin Chenran said slowly. "This is a very realistic problem. The Yan state does not have much money at hand right now, and the military can only be patient. Once the economy develops, military spending will naturally increase. Can it be done?" Lin Chenran rejected the other party before Welly Leo finished speaking. "The Wingloong aircraft is very expensive. Even if it is sold to the military at the factory price, it is still quite expensive." He continued, "The Wingloong aircraft embodies most of the technological strength of our 077 mechanical military factory. In particular, its power output device and energy storage device are the best in the world. It's okay to spend money on it, but not to give it away as a gift. The price is there. You can give the factory price, but you can't get it for free. A single Wingloong aircraft costs as much as 4 or 5 apocalypse tanks." "Lin, you're such a stingy person, you're so stingy." Lin Chenran let out a helpless smile. He sighed and said, "Mr. Welly, the military always takes advantage of our 077 machinery arsenal. They've completely drained our factories." After the Saudi representatives from the Camel region had enjoyed their flight, negotiations officially began. Lin, the Winglung aircraft your factory designed and developed are truly amazing. We'd like to bring a batch back to Saudi Arabia. Abdul openly expressed his desire for the Winglung aircraft, stating his needs directly. Hearing this, Lin Chenran's lips curled up slightly, and he smiled inwardly, for this was entirely within his expectations. Even if the Saudi military in the Camel region had no plans to purchase them, Abdul and the other representatives would definitely purchase a few Winglung aircraft to bring back to Saudi Arabia for their own enjoyment. Lin Chenran smiled and replied, Abdul, my friend, the Winglung aircraft incorporates all of our 077 machinery and military factories' cutting-edge technologies. Its powertrain and energy storage systems are particularly world-leading. Therefore, the Winglung aircraft is priced very high. Abdul waved his hand and boldly emphasized again, Lin, price is not an issue. Since Abdul had said so, Lin Chenran nervously quoted the price. One Winglung aircraft costs $5 million. Then, he quickly explained, Abdul, we at the 077 machinery and military factory are only earning a small fee for our hard work. The Winglung aircraft incorporates a lot of cutting-edge technology, and we will only produce it in small batches going forward. At this point, the senior executives of the 077 machinery and military factory began to grow nervous. If they could reach a cooperation with Abdul this time, it would undoubtedly be a good thing for them. The 077 machinery and military factory had received another large order. Yet, when the Saudi representatives from the Camel region heard the price of a Winglung aircraft for $5 million, they didn't appear overly surprised. To them, $5 million wasn't an astronomical sum. Even a luxury car owned by some might cost over $5 million. Abdul smiled faintly. Lin, it's not that expensive. Only $5 million. He spread his hand slightly, looking relaxed. I thought you'd ask for over $10 million. He continued, a sly glint in his eyes. The Yan nation military leaders were stunned upon hearing the price. They looked at each other, as if they couldn't believe their ears. What? $5 million for a Winglung aircraft? Not expensive? Surely only the wealthy from the Camel region would think a Winglung aircraft for $5 million wasn't expensive. With their boundless wealth and resources, they could easily afford such a price. We don't understand the world of the rich. Abdul, Lin, on behalf of our Saudi military, I'm ordering 40 Winglung aircraft from your 077 mechanical arsenal. 40 Winglung aircraft? A $200 million order. Upon hearing this, the senior executives of the 077 mechanical arsenal blushed and beamed. Hiss. This. The Yan Kingdom military brass gasped. Lin Chenran excitedly stood up and expressed his gratitude. Abdul, thank you for your recognition of our 077 mechanical arsenal's Winglung aircraft. Abdul interrupted Lin Chenran and continued. Lin, don't get excited yet. There's more to come. I've discussed with Salman and others that we will privately purchase 20 Winglung aircraft. After Abdul finished speaking, Lin Chenran was incredulous. He hadn't expected Abdul to order 20 Winglung aircraft. This was clearly a personal act. Abdul, really? Lin Chenran inquired again. This is a massive order worth a total of $300 million. Lin, my friend, this is true. We are very optimistic about the Winglung aircraft from your 077 mechanical arsenal. It can not only be used in military applications, but it is also worth collecting and showing off. Abdul could even imagine the scene of himself showing off the Winglung aircraft to others. Lin, can I make 2 small requests? Abdul, go ahead. Then, Abdul stated his request. That is, he wants the 077 mechanical arsenal to help make his personal version of the Winglung aircraft even cooler. And the second request, Abdul hopes to take these 3 Winglung aircraft back to the Camel region, Saudi Arabia. Upon hearing this, Lin Chenran agreed to Abdul's request without hesitation. Chapter 103 Spending money again to eliminate disaster. Abdul's offer was so simple that Lin Chenran agreed almost without a second thought. Upon hearing this, Abdul beamed with excitement and hurriedly thanked Lin Chenran. This would not only give him more face when he returned to the Saudis and the Camel region, but also allow him to boast about helping the 077 mechanical arms factory tap into the wealthy Saudi market for Winglung aircraft, a win-win situation. Lin Chenran and Abdul then signed the contract for the Winglong aircraft and posed for a photo afterward. Finally, Lin Chenran watched as the fleet of Rolls-Royces from the Swords and the Camel region slowly drove out of the complex of the 077 Mechanical Arms Factory. Meanwhile, the Yan nation's top military brass were still reeling from their shock. They couldn't believe that the Swords and the Camel region had so readily signed a $300 million order for Winglong aircraft. Such generosity was truly astonishing. Previously, the Yan nation's military had only placed $200 million worth of weapons orders with the Swords and the Camel region. Yet, this time, they had unhesitatingly placed a whopping $300 million order with the 077 Mechanical Arms Factory, used to purchase 60 Winglong aircraft. Everyone couldn't help but exclaim, "I'm the richest camel in the world with only a piece of cloth on my head." Such a generous gesture, without hesitation. After seeing off the delegation from Saudi Arabia in the Camel region, Lin Chenran returned to the conference room again. He gently pushed open the door, and thunderous applause immediately broke out in the conference room. Everyone was excited, because Lin Chenran successfully negotiated this huge order of $300 million US. According to the current trend, Winglong aircraft may receive more orders. Especially after it spreads among the wealthy class, there will be more and more buyers. Just like buying a luxury car, if others have it and you don't, there will definitely be people who have a comparison mentality, which will prompt more people to buy it. Lin Chenran gently pressed down his hands, and the thunderous applause stopped abruptly, and the whole conference room fell into silence. He cleared his throat and spoke slowly. Through everyone's concerted efforts, we've successfully marketed our independently designed and developed Winglong aircraft to the Saudi Arabian Empire in the Luocho region, securing a massive order for $300 million. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to everyone for their hard work. I hope you'll convey my gratitude to the employees below, Lin Chenran said, smiling sincerely as he looked at the executives before him. He knew that without everyone's tireless efforts, this massive order wouldn't have been possible. He continued, regarding the bonus issue, rest assured, I've assigned someone to ensure everyone receives a fair and reasonable reward, and I won't let anyone down. Lin Chenran spoke earnestly and firmly. The executives of the 077 Mechanical Arsenal expressed their gratitude one after another, their voices rising and falling like the waves of a vast ocean. Thank you, Mr. Lin. You've worked hard. We will continue to work hard and give our all for the factory. Facing the thanks from everyone, Lin Chenran smiled slightly and replied calmly, "You're welcome. This is what everyone deserves." A group of Yan country military leaders watched, and there was envy in their eyes. When Wei Lao and others saw this scene, they thought in their hearts, everyone go back to their respective jobs first, and produce the remaining 58 Winglong aircraft as soon as possible, and then deliver them to customers in Saudi Arabia. Seeing this, Lin Chenran quickly asked the senior executives of the 077 Mechanical Arsenal to leave the meeting room. After the senior executives of the 077 Mechanical Arsenal left, only Lin Chenran, Song Xian, and a group of Yan country military leaders were left in the meeting room. Lin boy, I'm beginning to envy everyone in your 077 Mechanical Arsenal. Otherwise, I'll be transferred to your factory to work, Wei Lao said half jokingly. Lin Chenran quickly waved his hands. No, Mr. Wei, you're an important figure in the military. We at the 077 Mechanical Arsenal can't accommodate a big shot like you. Mr. Wei scoffed, you brat. Lin Chenran shrugged helplessly. Mr. Wei, you know, everyone in our factory has families and needs to make ends meet. If we simply emphasize dedication, over time, everyone's enthusiasm might wane. Therefore, a proper reward system is essential. At the 077 Mechanical Arsenal, anyone with sufficient R&D capabilities could receive correspondingly high bonuses and salaries. There's a reward for every effort. I finally understand why your 077 Mechanical Arsenal has thrived in such a challenging environment. It turns out you're a formidable force. Mr. Wei gazed at Lin Chenran, his heart filled with admiration. He thought this was a clever strategy, one that would attract more talented and skilled personnel. He also understood why Lin Chenran offered so many bonuses to his workers. It was all designed to motivate them and improve production efficiency. Although I gave them quite a bit of bonuses, they deserved it. After all, they developed so many good products, making the products of the 077 machinery and military factory unique and well loved by customers. Lin Chenran didn't feel he had done anything wrong. He believed that only in this way could he motivate employees to work better. Moreover, these bonuses were a reward for their hard work. Lin boy, whoever sees it gets a share. Suddenly, old Wendy said with a smile, since your 077 machinery and military factory has negotiated a super large order and the workers have received bonuses, then we. Lin Chenran's heart sank, and he secretly groaned. He knew old Wendy too well. He was sure that the other party was coming to seize the US dollar foreign exchange in the hands of their 077 machinery and military factory. As expected, the cunning eyes of Mr. Wendy flashed with greed, and he said without disguising, Lin boy, I congratulate you on getting rich. Lin Chenran couldn't help rolling his eyes, and sighed helplessly. Mr. Wendy, besides this sentence, do you have nothing else to say? But Mr. Wendy shrugged disapprovingly, showing a smug expression. No, this sentence is the most appropriate. Suddenly, a burst of laughter broke out in the conference room. Everyone looked at Lin Chenran and Mr. Wendy, full of looks of watching the fun, and not minding the trouble. A group of Yan country military leaders found it very interesting. There was only one way before Lin Chenran, and that was bankruptcy to avoid disaster. Anyway, it has been done before. But the price this time will be greater. Thinking of this, Lin Chenran showed a painful expression on his face, and muttered, if I had known this would happen, I should not have invited you here in the first place. Now look what happened. Spending money to ward off disasters, spending money to ward off disasters, spending money to ward off disasters, Lin Chenran muttered painfully. Chapter 104 Automatic Homing Rocket Launcher. As soon as you open your mouth, I will be in big trouble. I don't know how to explain this to the employees of the 077 mechanical arsenal. Lin Chenran sighed helplessly and continued, $20 million US. Hearing the number reported by Lin Chenran, Wei Lao frowned instantly. He couldn't help but say, what? Lin boy, don't let me slap you. $20 million US. How can you say that? Your cooperation with the Saudi Kingdom in the Camel region has reached a super invincible order of more than $300 million US. You send us away with $20 million US? Huh? Lin Chenran looked at Wei Lao with a puzzled face. Bandit mentality? Robbery? Now you don't even look down on $20 million US? Why don't you ask other third-tier military factories to provide $20 million US to the military in C? Lin Chenran retorted unconvincedly, if they don't ask you to subsidize foreign exchange, you military should be laughing. Lin Chenran pouted and argued with Mr. Wendy righteously. One price, $100 million US. Mr. Wendy directly quoted the price. If it's less than this number, I will move my office to your office. Mr. Wendy actually started to act like a rogue. If you don't agree, then I will pester you every day. Huh. Lin Chenran was so surprised that he almost jumped up, a layer of sweat on his forehead. Mr. Wendy, what are you doing? Robbery? He shouted anxiously. No, absolutely not, he refused firmly. Mr. Wendy seemed to be determined to take advantage of Lin Chenran. No, that has to work. Otherwise, I think you are doing a great job as the director of the 077 mechanical arsenal. It's too much of a waste of your talent to be a factory director. The military wants to promote you. Mr. Wendy thought he had accurately grasped Lin Chenran's 7 inches. However, Lin Chenran's words made all his efforts come to nothing. No problem, I'm happy to. I have to thank the military for giving me this opportunity. Obviously, Lin Chenran was not affected by Mr. Wendy's methods. He even showed a look of gratitude and was willing to be promoted to other departments. Want to control me? No way. Mr. Wendy was speechless for a moment and couldn't help thinking in his heart, old man Lin, didn't you say that your grandson is indifferent to fame and fortune and doesn't like to climb up? He just wants to be the director of the 077 mechanical arsenal. Are you lying to me? Faced with the current situation, Mr. Wendy was at a loss for a moment. Judging from the current situation, Lin Chenran is obviously a person who is soft-hearted and not hard-hearted. If he continues to be tough, it will probably only make things worse. Or just break up. If Lin Chenran is really transferred from the 077 mechanical military factory, can the current good situation in the factory continue? After all, the 077 mechanical military factory has developed since Lin Chenran became the factory director. If Lin Chenran is transferred, the 077 mechanical military factory will decline instantly. For the military of Yan country, the blow is too great. A huge money bag will be directly lost, and a coin exploding machine that explodes some foreign exchange dollars from time to time will be lost. Mr. Wei was caught by Lin Chenran. Lin Chenran instantly felt like drinking ice water in the desert, so refreshed. Of course, Lin Chenran can't do too much. Stop when you're ahead. Otherwise, he will be dealt with by Mr. Lin. 50 million US dollars. This is my bottom line. Mr. Wei, you also have to pay attention to our difficulties. Our 077 mechanical military factory has been supplying blood to the military, and so far the military has only given us an order of 100 million Yan coins. The profit is not as much as the contribution. Lin Chenran appropriately stated the difficulties of his own 077 mechanical military factory. From the initial Type 59 civilian engineering vehicle to the current large order for Wing-Lung aircraft, it has always been the 077 mechanical military factory that has supplied blood to the Yan state military. Lin Chenran's words made the Yan state military leaders present ashamed. This is indeed the case. Old Wen showed a relieved smile on his face. Lin Chenran was obviously giving him a way out, and he didn't want to be aggressive and embarrass others. Okay then. 50 million US dollars. Mr. Wei knows when to stop. 50 million US dollars is not a small amount. Other third-tier military factories have never tried to hand over such a huge amount of foreign exchange. This kind of thing needs to be done slowly and steadily. The 077 mechanical military factory has already provided a huge amount of foreign exchange for the Yan country military. Lin Chenran secretly breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Mr. Wei agreed. If Mr. Wei did not agree, he might increase it by 10 million US dollars. Without affecting the development of the 077 mechanical military factory, Lin Chenran did not mind contributing his own strength to the development of the Yan country's military industry. Mr. Wei, the military must understand the difficulties of our 077 mechanical military factory. Lin Chenran had to put his attitude forward. You can't say that you will give the other party whatever they want. You have to learn to refuse. After the distribution of interests was completed, the meeting continued. The relationship between the two sides was no longer so tense. A Yan country military leader summed it up. Coming to the 077 mechanical military factory has taught me a lot and opened my eyes. It's not just about weapons and equipment, but more importantly, the negotiations between people. Another big man from Yan country continued immediately. That's right, it's worth the trip. Old Wei then asked, Lin boy, didn't you say before that there was a secret weapon and equipment that you would tell us after the representatives from Sand country and Camalaria leave? What weapon and equipment? It's so mysterious. Lin Chenran smiled slightly. Old Wei, you look anxious again. Don't worry for now, wait for us to introduce them to you one by one. Then Lin Chenran signaled Song Zian on the side and asked him to go up and introduce the automatic tracking rocket launcher of his own 077 mechanical military factory to a group of military leaders. When Old Wei saw Song Zian come on stage to introduce the new weapons and equipment of 077 mechanical military factory, he instantly felt that it was not simple. This automatic tracking rocket launcher was inspired by the automatic sheep catching device invented by Big Bad Wolf, and then after various modifications, it was a weapon and equipment. Automatic tracking rocket launcher? The Yan state military leaders were puzzled. Then, Song Zian began to explain in detail to everyone. After half an hour of explanation, the Yan state military leaders finally understood the basic principles of the automatic tracking rocket launcher that Song Zian mentioned. The Yan state military leaders present were very excited. The automatic tracking rocket launcher is an epoch-making weapon and equipment. They did not expect that the research and development capabilities of the 077 mechanical military factory were so strong. In less than half a year, they had produced several epoch-making weapons and equipment. And this automatic tracking rocket launcher was even more amazing. Old Wei raised his hand to indicate that he wanted to ask a question. Song Zian stopped and listened to Old Wei's question. Old Song, have you produced this automatic tracking rocket launcher? Chapter 105, Lin Chenran's automatic tracking rocket launcher. That's a must. Lin Chenran raised the corner of his mouth slightly and said confidently, since we have let your military come here, there must be a finished product. His eyes flashed with determination and pride. Old Wei looked at Lin Chenran, a helpless smile appeared on his face, shook his head and said, you kid. He could clearly feel the resentment in Lin Chenran's heart. How could he not have resentment? He had just been extorted $50 million by the Yan country military, and now he was questioning the strength of the 077 machinery and military factory. In fact, Lin Chenran kept so many US dollars for the development of the 077 machinery and military factory. After all, the development of an enterprise cannot be separated from a lot of financial support. The current 077 machinery and military factory needs huge funds to purchase the production technology and equipment needed for its own enterprise. What's more important is that after the Russian bear splits, Lin Chenran hopes to introduce advanced heavy industry technology, outstanding talents and important military technology from there. In addition, he also set his sights on the Variag aircraft carrier in the hands of the two Maos. A senior Yanjiuo military official calmly said to Lin Chenran, let's go straight to the finished product. Although they already had a general understanding of the principles of the automatic tracking rocket launcher, they were even more eager to see the actual device in person and observe its performance during testing. For the military, everything hinged on the final test results. No problem, I've made all the arrangements, and am waiting for you, the leaders, to come to the test site together, Lin Chenran said firmly. His gaze revealed anticipation and confidence for this test. Lin Chenran slowly rose from his seat, his eyes sweeping over the Yanjiuo military leaders present. Then, a slight smile curled his lips, and he said softly, please, leaders, please join me for another trip to the test site. With that, he turned and walked out the door. The Yanjiuo military leaders all stood up, their eyes gleaming with anticipation. They too wanted to witness the power of the automatic tracking rocket launcher that Lin Chenran had boasted about. Then, everyone boarded the car, provided by the 077 mechanical arsenal, which started and slowly drove towards the test site. Soon, the vehicle arrived at the test site. Upon arriving, Lin Chenran began to explain, this automatic tracking rocket launcher is technologically advanced. The Saudi representative from the Camel region was present, so I couldn't use it. He then joked, I don't want the military to stop us exporting it because of this. Elder Wendy, upon hearing this, chuckled and teased, Lin, this is the first time I've heard you say this weaponry is too technologically advanced and unsuitable for export. Lin Chenran scratched his head awkwardly and smiled. Isn't this a special case? Everyone present burst into laughter, creating a light-hearted atmosphere that echoed across the test site. Elder Wendy, the most critical and crucial part of this automatic tracking rocket launcher is the automatic tracking mechanism. It identifies, tracks, pursues, and ultimately kills the target. This is currently the most advanced technology, and the threat is significant, so. As Lin Chenran spoke, a solemn look flashed in his eyes. Once this technology leaks out, many countries will begin to imitate it. By then, other countries will also develop similar products, which will pose a huge threat to Yan country, especially the United States and Russia. That's why Lin Chenran didn't sell this automatic tracking rocket launcher. Otherwise, the Saudi representatives in the Camel region might not have left yet, admiring the power of the automatic tracking rocket launcher together. I see. The Yan country military leader suddenly realized. According to Lin Chenran's personality, he would find buyers for weapons and equipment that can be sold and then sell them without hesitation. But the automatic tracking rocket launcher was hidden by Lin Chenran and not announced to the public. This means that this automatic tracking rocket launcher needs to be kept secret. Whether it is a mule or a horse, take it out for a walk. Otherwise, no matter how much you talk, it will be useless. At Lin Chenran's signal, the staff of the 077 mechanical arsenal quickly took action. They skillfully pulled the automatic tracking rocket launcher designed and developed by themselves out of the warehouse, their movement swift and orderly. At this moment, the massive device was still tightly covered by a massive tarp, revealing only its massive outline. The Yan nation military leaders whispered, their faces filled with surprise and curiosity. Soon, with the efforts of the staff, the thick tarp was finally lifted, revealing the true appearance of the automatic seeking rocket launcher. In an instant, everyone's eyes widened, and exclamations of amazement echoed. The behemoth before them was awe-inspiring. Its design was simple and elegant, with flowing, natural lines yet a sense of majesty. The barrel was thick and powerful, like a sleeping dragon. In the bright sunlight, the metal casing of the automatic seeking rocket launcher gleamed dazzlingly, attracting everyone like a work of art. Its smooth surface and exquisite craftsmanship demonstrated the care and skill of its makers, while also giving off a sense of durability and reliability. Lin Chenran nodded to the testers from the 077 mechanical arsenal, signaling that testing could begin. With a beep, the testers at the 077 mechanical arsenal activated their own self-guided rocket launcher, the Cheyenne. After the launcher was activated, the testers began firing various rounds at it, attempting to penetrate its defenses. However, the Cheyenne's automatic seeking rocket launcher was incredibly agile and swift. The instant the rounds approached, its defense mechanisms activated, and the Cheyenne's automatic seeking rocket launcher immediately launched its own rounds, successfully intercepting the incoming rounds. Astonishingly, the Cheyenne's automatic seeking rocket launcher achieved a 100% interception rate, destroying every incoming round. The Cheyenne's automatic seeking rocket launcher formed a vast defensive network, effectively repelling incoming threats. Whether airborne or ground-based, it was difficult to escape its attack range. Any target entering its surveillance zone was instantly locked onto and attacked. This result astounded everyone present. The Yan state military leaders had assumed the Cheyenne's automatic seeking rocket launcher was merely an ordinary weapon, but now they realized its power far exceeded their imagination. Everyone couldn't help but exclaim in amazement, "This is too powerful." Commendations. The Cheyenne's automatic tracking rocket launcher can also be linked in multiple batches. Chapter 106. Being ridden on the face by a flying dragon from the Damu country. How useless are you, the Lion country? This can not only be used for land defense, the Cheyenne's automatic tracking rocket launcher can also be carried on destroyers. Lin Chenran said seriously. Equipped on a destroyer, this destroyer will have absolute defensive capabilities. His tone was calm, but his eyes flashed with confidence. Hiss. A group of military leaders couldn't help but gasp. Their eyes widened, with shocked expressions on their faces. Before this, the military leaders of Yan State had not thought of applying the Cheyenne's automatic tracking rocket launcher to the Navy. However, now after Lin Chenran's reminder, they realized that this weapon does meet the conditions for shipboard deployment. Speaking of the Navy, it is simply a history full of hardships and tears. It can no longer be simply described as poor. Due to the drastic cuts in Yan State's military expenditures, the order of military expenditure allocation is, first, the needs of the Army must be met first, followed by the Air Force, and finally the Navy. Within the Yan Kingdom military, a saying has long been circulating: the Army is the eldest son, the Air Force is the second son, and the Navy, it's just an adopted one. Limited military funds are almost entirely divided between the Army and the Air Force, leaving the Navy with a pitiful share. The Navy can barely maintain its daily fuel supply and basic training expenses. Even thinking of acquiring new warships? That's simply a pipe dream. Meanwhile, the Damu Kingdom in the Camel region, after acquiring 2 heavy weaponry from the 077 mechanical arsenal, has become even more powerful and unstoppable on the battlefield. With advanced weaponry and superior combat strategies, they have steadily defeated the Lion Kingdom. Territory previously occupied by the Lion Kingdom has also been recaptured, instantly turning the tide of the war. This development immediately attracted the attention of Western countries, led by the United States. These countries unanimously believed that the war would ultimately end in a complete victory for the Lion Kingdom. After all, Damu Kingdom's weaponry has long been subject to restrictions from Western countries, and almost all of its heavy weapons and equipment cannot be transported to Damu Kingdom. Meanwhile, the Lion Kingdom not only received Western aid, but also possessed a far more powerful military. If victory wasn't guaranteed, what else could guarantee it? But they were proven utterly wrong. The Great Wood Nation, with its astonishing combat prowess and unyielding will, dealt a heavy blow to the Lion Nation. especially after acquiring 2 heavy mortar weapons from the 077 mechanical arsenal. They successfully recaptured previously lost territory, putting immense pressure on the Lion Nation. This result shocked everyone, especially the Western nations that had once placed high hopes on the Lion Nation. They began to reassess the Great Wood Nation's strength and consider how to respond to this sudden change. Shit. Fuck. The Lion Nation is so incompetent. Even with such a huge advantage, they can't defeat the Great Wood Nation. Shane Kerr, the military officer of the Eagle Source Camel region, roared angrily. Shane Kerr had originally believed that the Lion Nation could easily win the war, and he had even assured his superiors that the war would be over in less than 6 months. The initial results were just as Shane Kerr had predicted, with the Lion Nation sweeping over much of the Great Wood Nation's territory. The Great Wood Kingdom was being beaten back by the Lion Kingdom. The Lion Kingdom's top brass vowed to the public that the war would be over in less than half a year. But the reality was very disappointing. In less than 3 months, the situation on the battlefield changed dramatically. A rebellion suddenly occurred, and the Great Wood Kingdom was severely suppressing the Lion Kingdom. This was completely unexpected. This is why Shane Carroll was so furious. How could this be? The Lion Kingdom had the right time, place, and people, but they were still suppressed by the Great Wood Kingdom. They lost even though they had a great start. What kind of loser must they be to achieve such a result? The adjutant Valir Burner at the side shook his head helplessly. He also expressed his disdain for the Lion Kingdom's fighting ability. After venting his emotions, Shane Carroll gradually regained his composure and began to think about where the problem lay. He looked at his adjutant, Valir Bernard, and asked, Valir, do you know why this happened? The Lion Nation was clearly in the ascendancy from the beginning, consistently suppressing the Great Wood Nation. How did they end up getting counterattacked? Is it because the Russians are supporting the Great Wood Nation? Shane Kerr tried to get some answers or explanation from his adjutant. However, Valir Bernard shook his head and said, Captain Kerr, according to the intelligence I have, the Russians are not supporting the Great Wood Nation. Valir Bernard then added, you know, the Great Wood Nation is completely blockaded by us. Almost all of their weapons and equipment, especially the heavy ones, are incapable of breaking through our blockade. So, the Russians can't possibly provide aid to the Great Wood Nation. Besides, the chaos in the Russians continues, and they don't have the energy to interfere too much in the Camel region. Hearing this, Shane Kerr frowned, lost in thought. Who could it be? He muttered, a hint of confusion and doubt in his voice. Despite the lack of heavy weapons and equipment, the Lion Country was still beaten back. He continued. His tone revealed surprise at the enemy's strength. Shane Carroll's brows furrowed more and more, and his fingers tapped lightly on the table, making a crisp sound. His mind was running fast, trying to find clues from the known information. At this time, Valir Bernard broke the silence, his expression serious and solemn. According to the intelligence obtained by our intelligence personnel on the battlefield, the Dami country army suddenly obtained 2 heavy weapons, in large quantities. One of them is a heavy mortar, and the other is a Katyusha rocket launcher similar to the Soviet Union's. He continued. Shane Kerr's face darkened instantly, a flicker of anger in his eyes. How is this possible? We've completely blockaded the Great Wood Kingdom. How could they possibly have obtained heavy mortars and rocket launchers like Katyusha? A large number? Valir, quickly dispatch personnel to investigate how this large number of heavy mortars and Katyusha rocket launchers managed to break through our blockade and reach the Great Wood Kingdom's army. Shane Kerr gave Valir Bernard the order. If the investigation failed, Shane Kerr would be the one in trouble. He would bear primary responsibility. Commander Carl, don't worry. I've dispatched personnel to investigate. As soon as we have any information, we'll report it to you immediately. Valir Bernard explained his plans. Shane Kerr smiled faintly upon hearing this. Chapter 107. Saudi Arabia possesses an unknown second-generation main battle tank. Less than a day later, the Eagle Source intelligence officers returned with intelligence information. The information was extremely detailed, with not only text descriptions, but also a large number of pictures and video materials. This, Shane Kerr frowned. Aren't the 2 heavy weapons and equipment of the Great Wood Kingdom too strange and rudimentary? He looked at the information in his hand, and couldn't help but feel a sense of absurdity. Valir, did you get the right information? Shane Care turned and asked doubtfully. He couldn't believe that with such simple weapons and equipment, the Great Wood Kingdom could actually beat the Lion Kingdom. This looked like a plot from a science fiction movie, not something that would happen in the real world. Captain Carl, the intelligence is correct, Burner quickly replied. This isn't the work of a single intelligence officer, but rather multiple intelligence officers, each of whom obtained the same information from different sources. We can confirm this intelligence is authentic and reliable. After hearing Burner's words, Shane Cole was silent for a moment, then nodded, accepting the explanation. After all, it wasn't just the information from a single intelligence officer, so its authenticity was confirmed. But Shane Carl remained puzzled by the two pieces of weaponry from the Great Wood Nation. Shane Cole was momentarily at a loss for words. The main problem was that the two pieces of weaponry from the Great Wood Nation were incredibly rudimentary. They looked like they were cobbled together from discarded materials, completely unmatched by modern military technology. Yet, these two seemingly unremarkable pieces of equipment gave the Great Wood Nation the upper hand in the war against the Lion Nation. What is the source of weapons and equipment? Although these two weapons and equipment are very simple, their power is not inferior to that of the same type of artillery. The most important point is that the army of Oki Kingdom has greatly enhanced its strength after being equipped on a large scale. Sir Carl, it's not clear which country has provided these weapons and equipment to Ogi country, Bernard said with a frown. He shook his head gently as he said, as if he was very confused about the question. Carl frowned tightly, a trace of anxiety flashing in his eyes. He knew very well that, although this simple weapon looked inconspicuous, it could play a huge role. Look, the Ogi Kingdom used these two simple weapons to beat up the Lion Kingdom and snatched back the original lost land. Because of its simplicity and ease of manufacture, it is difficult to trace the source. Burner continued, you also know that these simple weapons and equipment are not difficult to make. As long as there are some basic tools and materials, anyone can easily assemble them. And these materials are everywhere, and it is almost impossible to completely cut off their supply channels. There is no way. Just find a steel pipe outside, and it can be welded into a cannon barrel. Accuracy? That's unnecessary for the Great Wood Nation. As long as there are enough shells, they'll always hit their targets. Shane Care nodded helplessly, understanding. The manufacturing process for this type of weaponry is relatively simple, even easily accomplished in everyday life. To completely eliminate its presence, one would have to completely blockade the Great Wood Nation and prohibit the influx of all supplies. This approach is clearly unrealistic and would not only ignite greater conflict, but also potentially draw other nations in the Camel region into the war. Worse still, if the situation gets out of control, it could escalate from a localized conflict into a global war. The entire world would then be plunged into chaos and crisis. Furthermore, there's another crucial factor that deters them from acting rashly. Russia is watching closely. If the Eagle Source acts too decisively, Russia might seize the opportunity to intervene, making the situation even more difficult to control. After all, Russia has always longed to participate in this war to gain greater benefits and influence. Furthermore, Russia is experiencing various domestic turmoil, and participating in the war would divert domestic conflicts. For Russia, the continued expansion of the war is highly advantageous. Keep investigating. I doubt that Damu's scientific research capabilities can produce these two types of weapons, especially the ammunition for them. After a moment's thought, Shane Care immediately gave the order to continue the investigation. Okay, I'll arrange it. Burner saluted and was about to leave Shane Care's office, but Shane Care stopped him. Wait a moment. Don't worry. There's something else I need you to follow up on. Burner was puzzled. Something else? Shane Care then pulled a document from his drawer. Take a look first, and wait for others to express their opinions. Burner, after reviewing the document Shane Care handed him, looked incredulous. Captain Care, is this true? Yes, it was captured by a high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft. Shane Care nodded, confirming the authenticity of the intelligence. The Sudus and the Camel region actually possess a mysterious second-generation main battle tank, and its performance rivals our M1 tanks and Russia's T-72 tanks? Burner asked incredulously. Valier knew the scientific research capabilities of the Sordus and the Camel region. He would never believe they had the research and development capabilities to produce a second generation main battle tank. Such a joke. Those wealthy individuals would rather purchase weapons than develop them, or perhaps, they simply lack the research and development capabilities. Intelligence now indicates that the Sordus and the Camel region are testing a second generation main battle tank. Commander Carl, I'd rather believe the Sordus and the Camel region purchased second generation main battle tanks from other countries than believe they have the capability to design and manufacture one, Valier replied, patting his chest in affirmation. The Sordus second generation main battle tank is indeed unlike any currently available internationally. It's a new type of tank. Shane Carl agreed. The conventional wisdom was that the Sordus and the Camel region purchase most of their weapons and equipment. Not only were weapons and equipment purchased from the United States, but also from other countries. It was a complete mishmash of weapons. Even a batch of Dongfeng missiles from the Yan Kingdom was purchased. Valier, this matter is of great importance to the country. I hope you can quickly arrange for intelligence personnel to investigate thoroughly. Originally, the United States wanted to wait until the war between the Great Wood Kingdom and the Lion Kingdom was over before selling a batch of M1 tanks to the Saudi Kingdom. If the Saudi Kingdom had already purchased second generation main battle tanks in the Camel region, then they would definitely not need the United States M1 tanks. Wouldn't that mean a huge loss of tank orders? This was something the country didn't want to see. So, a direct order was issued to Shane Carroll to investigate the source of these second generation main battle tanks. Chapter 108, Saudi Arabia and Yan State reached a cooperation to jointly develop the second generation main battle tank. Valier's brow furrowed, his expression darkening. He realized the gravity of the situation. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was completely different from the other nations in the Camel region, its military strength unparalleled. This made quickly obtaining intelligence from Saudi Arabia extremely difficult. Furthermore, Valier had been focusing on the war between the Great Wood Kingdom and the Lion Kingdom. Are there any difficulties? Shane Kerr asked sternly, his gaze piercing the hesitant Valier. No, I'll arrange it immediately. Valier's heart tightened, startled by Shane Kerr's questioning. He was well aware of his negligence, having failed to detect the Saudi Arabian movement in the Camel region. Now, he had to give his all to atone for his mistake and present a better performance before Shane Kerr. Valier, the Sand Country has always been a key focus of our attention. We cannot relax our surveillance of the Sand Country just because of the war between the Great Wood Country and the Lion Country. Shane Kerr glanced at Valier beside him and began to lecture him. Captain Carl, I understand. Rest assured, it won't happen again. Valier quickly issued a military order to Shane Kerr, promising not to make the same mistake again. Valier, you are the best soldier I have ever trained. I hope you can take my position, Shane Kerr said earnestly, his eyes filled with expectation and trust. Valier felt a surge of emotion at these words, but he remained calm and replied, Captain Carl, thank you for your training. This was the proverbial slap in the face. Then give a date. Shane Kerr nodded slightly, signaling Valier to leave. Valier needed to act quickly to deal with this difficult matter. Valier saluted Shane Carroll and left the office. He secretly resolved to live up to Chief Carroll's expectations. Shane Carroll sighed softly as he sat in his chair. The Saudi Kingdom in the Camel region had truly given him a major headache this time. After leaving Shane Carroll's office, Valier immediately sprang into action. He quickly issued an order to the Saudi Kingdom's most elite agents in the Camel region to gather intelligence on the second generation main battle tanks in the Saudi Kingdom's possession. Just one day later, Valier's agents received a message. When he saw the intelligence, his face paled, and a sense of foreboding welled up in him. He had never imagined that the Saudi Kingdom in the Camel region was colluding with the Yan Kingdom. Valier hurried to Shane Carroll's office with the intelligence. What? Saudi Arabia and Yan Kingdom are collaborating to design and manufacture a second generation main battle tank? Valier, isn't April Fool's Day still a while away? Shane Kerr was stunned after reading the intelligence. He found it unbelievable. Yan Kingdom had the capability to design and develop a second generation main battle tank? Yan Kingdom was desperately short of the technology. Captain Care, this is information from my most elite intelligence officers. After multiple verifications, this second generation main battle tank is called the Apocalypse Tank. According to the information we have, it possesses formidable firepower, protection, and mobility. When Valir Bernard first received the intelligence, he didn't believe Yan Kingdom had such capabilities. He had doubts about the information, but he decided to verify its authenticity through other intelligence channels. After some effort, he obtained conclusive evidence these mysterious apocalypse tanks were indeed from Yan Kingdom. Oh, shit. Shane Care finally realized the seriousness of the situation, and his face grew solemn. He frowned and began to think of a response. A moment later, he decisively issued an urgent order to Valir Bernard. Valir, I need you to act immediately. Obtain detailed data on this apocalypse tank at all costs. We must understand its performance and characteristics, so we can formulate appropriate countermeasures. Understood. Valir Bernard nodded solemnly and hurried off. He knew the gravity of the situation, and dared not delay. I need to send a telegram home. This is very troublesome, Shane Care muttered to himself. Saudi Arabia has colluded with Yan Kingdom, directly undermining the interests of the United States and the Camel region. At this point, Lin Chenran was unaware that the apocalypse tanks developed by his 077 machinery arsenal in cooperation with Saudi Arabia in the Camel region had been discovered by American intelligence agents. Even if he knew, it would be useless. Sooner or later, the apocalypse tanks would be discovered by other countries. It was impossible to conceal them. Although Saudi Arabia's strength was unparalleled in the Camel region, it still struggled against a superpower. Lin Chenran was eager for all the data on his apocalypse tanks to be known to all countries. This would only increase the popularity of their apocalypse tank, and more customers would surely come to place orders for it. Time flew by, and within a week, all the test data for the apocalypse tank, held by the Sordis in the Camel region, arrived on Valir Bernard's desk. Shit? How is this possible? After carefully reviewing the test data for the apocalypse tank, Valir Bernard felt a surge of unease. Immediately, he hurried back to Shane Care's office. Knock, knock, knock. A rapid knock on the door broke Shane Care's musings. Who's there? Shane Care asked, snapping back to his senses. Sir Care, it's Valir. Urgent. Valir Bernard quickly explained his purpose. Come in. Shane Care signaled Valir Bernard to enter. Sir Care, this is bad. Valir Bernard spoke impatiently upon entering. Huh? Shane Care was puzzled for a moment, then reacted and tentatively asked, Valir, do you have detailed data on the apocalypse tank? Yes. Valir Bernard then handed the summary of the apocalypse tank's data to Shane Care, who took it and began to browse. Hiss. How can that be? Was this apocalypse tank really designed, developed, and manufactured by Yan country? After reading the information about the apocalypse tank, Shane Care showed a look of disbelief. If it was said to be made by the Russians, Shane Care would believe it, but Yan country? Could it really design, develop, and manufacture such a formidable tank? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 Lin Chenran. Everything is under control, Eagle Source. It's also within the plan. Shane Care still didn't believe the intelligence reports on the apocalypse tank's test data. He murmured to himself as he reviewed the intelligence. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Especially regarding the apocalypse tank's armor. Shane Care felt it was pure fantasy. This is outrageous. He stared at the data, his eyes wide, wondering, how could our own M1 tanks be unable to penetrate the apocalypse tank's armor at close range? Even if the M1 tanks in the Camel region were export versions, with performance down 20% from the domestically produced models, there was no reason they couldn't penetrate the apocalypse tank's armor. It was a genuine 125mm smoothbore gun. Valir, is the intelligence correct? Shane Care frowned, his eyes filled with confusion and bewilderment. His tone held a hint of disbelief, as if he expected Valir to offer a reasonable explanation. Valir stood aside, nodded gravely, and replied, Captain Carl, I didn't believe it at first, but the intelligence relayed by several elite intelligence officers confirms it. He paused, then continued, and the intelligence has been verified and confirmed multiple times, so there shouldn't be much deviation. Shane Carl fell silent, thinking to himself, if the intelligence is true, then this new tank will steal a lot of tank orders from us. Especially since Yan country has agreed to help Saudi Arabia establish a complete tank production line in the Camel region. Shit. This is even more difficult than Yan country designing and developing a second generation main battle tank. If this special material can be used in tanks, then it can also be used on other weapons and equipment. This would greatly improve the quality of Yan country's equipment. This is what gave Shane Carl a headache. Although Yan country and the Eagle Source are currently in a honeymoon period, relations between countries are always based on interests first. So-called friendship is only a temporary facade. Once core interests are involved, attitudes on both sides will change. As Yan's weaponry continued to improve, its impact on the global landscape grew, especially for a major power like the United States. The rise in Yan's weaponry posed a significant challenge to the United States. Captain Carl, this must be reported to the higher-ups, Valer Bernardo said anxiously. Indeed, this is beyond our purview, Shane Carl echoed. Valer Bernardo pointed upward, suggesting that such a major matter should be handled by higher-ups. Seeing this, Shane Carl's eyes flashed with excitement. Indeed, we must report it immediately. The two exchanged a sly smile. When this intelligence reached the top brass of the United States, it initially drew little attention, even dismissing it as nonsense. But as they delved deeper, they began to be astonished. What? Yan's tank technology is so advanced? Yan's materials technology is so advanced? After repeated verification, the top brass finally realized that Yan had achieved a breakthrough in specialized steel, far surpassing other countries. Even the export version of the Apocalypse tank could withstand the bombardment of the export M1 tank's 125mm smoothbore gun, and armor-piercing shells at that, and remain unharmed. So, the intelligence personnel were mobilized directly. This is too dangerous. And judging by the nature of Yan country's old six, the metal material of this special tank is definitely not its most advanced material. It will definitely hold back. At the same time, the Yan country military also received intelligence at the same time. Then, the phone in Lin Chenran's office rang. At this time, Lin Chenran and Song Xian were discussing the production arrangements of the Apocalypse tank and the Wingloong aircraft. Suddenly, the phone on the desk rang. Lin Chenran and Song Xian stopped discussing. Then, Lin Chenran walked to the table, picked up the phone and answered it. Hello. Hello, who are you looking for? Lin Chenran asked with a smile. Lin boy, it's me. A familiar voice came from the other end of the phone. Yes, it was the head of the Yan country military's equipment department, Mr. Wei. Mr. Wei, what are your instructions? Lin Chenran was secretly shocked. It was Mr. Wei again. Ah. Old Wei said jokingly, you kid definitely don't want to answer my call. How could that be? Lin Chenran denied it repeatedly. He immediately said that he really enjoyed listening to the other party's teachings. Really? Old Wei's hearty smile came from the other end of the phone. You kid. Let me make a long story short. Then, Old Wei told Lin Chenran that the Eagle Source already knew about the Apocalypse tank, and that the other party had arranged intelligence personnel to conduct an in-depth investigation of the Apocalypse tank, and asked for his opinion. The Apocalypse tank has been exposed. Lin Chenran asked excitedly. Hey, you kid, something is wrong. The Apocalypse tank has been exposed. Why are you still excited? Old Wei was puzzled, and after a while, he suddenly realized and guessed Lin Chenran's intention. You kid don't want to sell the Apocalypse tanks in large quantities, do you? You kid, you really have a lot of tricks. Lin Chenran smiled slightly. How could that be? Thank you for the praise, Mr. Wei. Yes, this is Lin Chenran's intention, to let the United States and other countries advertise their own Apocalypse tanks, so that other countries will know how powerful the Apocalypse tanks are, then compete to cooperate with the 077 mechanical arsenal to purchase Apocalypse tanks. Don't get too exhausted by then. Mr. Wei gave a slight warning, asking Lin Chenran not to be so cocky. to be more vigilant, and not to be knocked unconscious by others. Mr. Welly, our 077 mechanical arsenal has paid enough protection fees. Your military should not ignore us. Lin Chenran showed an expression of being calm in the face of trouble. Old Welly laughed and cursed. So that's how it is, you kid. Even took our military into account. Good. It's indeed a Lin family product. The disciple is better than the master. Old Lin should be very pleased. Hearing this, Lin Chenran panicked. No. Old Welly, I didn't take the military into account. If you say that, I'm done. You kid will be scared. Sun Wukong is not as capable as you. You have planned it from the beginning. Even Eagle Source has become one of your propaganda methods. After joking, Old Welly got straight to the point. We will upgrade the security around your 077 mechanical arsenal to another level. There will be a battalion of soldiers stationed around you. And after the notice of the superiors, you can temporarily mobilize this unit. Of course, you need to report it. Old Welly announced the decision directly on the phone. Chapter 110. What? You arrest my intelligence officers, then I will send more intelligence officers. This? Lin Chenran was completely stunned upon hearing this. He couldn't understand why his superiors had made such an arrangement. Master Welly, you're throwing me into a fire. Lin Chenran couldn't help but exclaim, a hint of anxiety in his voice. How can this be? He shook his head repeatedly, implying that he was not qualified. I'm just an ordinary technician, and you want me to lead troops? This is ridiculous. Lin Chenran had never been involved in military command before, and he was completely unsure if he was qualified for this position. This is an order, not a suggestion, Master Welly said sternly, his tone firm and unquestionable. The superiors had issued this order because the 077 mechanical arsenal possessed numerous advanced military technologies. These technologies were of vital importance to the Yan state military and must be carefully protected and prevented from being leaked abroad. Giving him temporary command would not only hone his leadership skills, but also ensure that he could make swift decisions in emergency situations and safeguard the safety of the 077 mechanical arsenal. It was also a reward, of course. Lin Chenran's performance over the past year or so had been exceptional. He successfully led the 077 machinery arsenal, a third-tier military factory on the brink of bankruptcy, to a complete turnaround. He also opened up the civilian engineering vehicle market with the Type 59 civilian engineering vehicle, providing a new market for the Type 59 tanks in the hands of the Yanjiuo military. This marked a major upgrade of the Yanjiuo military's tank equipment. He also opened up 2 stable revenue streams, giving the Yanjiuo military a share of the profits, which alleviated its military expenditures and enabled it to iterate and upgrade its weaponry. He also earned a significant amount of US dollars in foreign exchange for the Yanjiuo military, easing its foreign exchange pressure. These achievements made him a focal point and earned him the trust of his superiors. You are asking too much. Although Lin Chenran was very excited in his heart, he pretended to be reluctant and said, I'm just a small factory director. How can I take on such an important task? The old man Welly on the other end of the phone clearly felt that Lin Chenran was saying one thing and thinking another. He couldn't help laughing and scolding. The superiors directly made an exception and gave you the power to temporarily command a battalion. This is an unprecedented exception in Yan country. You kid should just be happy secretly. No way. His arrogant expression had betrayed his true thoughts. Even Song Xian beside him couldn't help laughing. You kid, pay attention during this period. Although the Eagle Source can't find out whether the Apocalypse tank was designed, developed, and manufactured by your 077 mechanical arsenal, you still have to pay attention. Old Welly gave Lin Chenran a vaccination and asked him to pay attention. This matter could be big or small. Don't worry, we will pay attention to strangers. Lin Chenran patted his chest and answered affirmatively, indicating that he would take it seriously. I'm glad you know. I have things to do. After he finished speaking, a beeping sound came from the other end of the line. Elder Welly had actually hung up. Hanging up just like that? Lin Chenran was completely stunned. He hadn't expected Elder Welly to end the call so abruptly. Don't be ridiculous. Elder Welly calling you to remind you shows how much he values you. Song Xian, who was standing by, couldn't help but say, what should we do next? Song Xian directly asked Lin Chenran what they should do next. The apocalypse tank had now been exposed to the public, and it was bound to attract the attention of even more people, as well as the country. Lin Chenran thought for a moment, then replied, "First, we must be vigilant and strengthen surveillance of the area surrounding the military factory to prevent any outsiders from approaching. Also, we must wait for things to develop, for new customers to come to us." After the apocalypse tank's fame spread among the Americans, the 077 mechanical military factory was fully prepared to welcome these potential buyers. With this in mind, Lin Chenran decided to add fuel to the fire. So he notified Abdul in the Camel region of Saudi Arabia, informing him of the leaked information regarding the apocalypse tank. Inside a luxurious Saudi manor in the Camel region, Abdul's body trembled violently upon receiving Lin Chenran's notification, a thin layer of sweat instantly breaking out on his forehead. He stared at the telegram in disbelief, his eyes widening as he roared like a furious lion. Damn it. How is this possible? How did the Americans find out so quickly? The test data for the Apocalypse and M1 tanks has been leaked. Damn it. Investigate thoroughly and find who leaked this confidential information. Our country is completely transparent to the Americans. They can easily infiltrate and obtain our most vital intelligence. How can this be considered a secret? The fact that the Americans' intelligence agents had easily obtained Saudi intelligence was undoubtedly an insult to the always proud Abdul. Unable to accept this fact, he immediately ordered a thorough investigation. Soon, a large-scale investigation was launched in the Camel region of Saudi Arabia. The operation was so sudden and swift that it caught intelligence officers from various countries off guard. Many were captured by Saudi security forces before they even had time to react. Saudi Arabia's unusual behavior in the Camel region attracted the attention and suspicion of senior officials from other countries. They speculated on the reasons behind Saudi Arabia's actions and decided to send more elite intelligence officers to the Camel region to gather intelligence. The information they uncovered revealed that Yan State had reached a collaboration with Saudi Arabia to jointly design and develop a second-generation main battle tank, the Apocalypse tank. The Apocalypse tank's armor was exceptional. During testing, it withstood armor-piercing rounds fired from the 125mm smoothbore gun of the Eagle Source M1 tank at close range without sustaining any damage. Senior officials from various countries gasped in shock. Initially, they doubted that Yan State could truly design a second-generation main battle tank, let alone a tank capable of withstanding armor-piercing rounds fired from the Eagle Source M1 tank at close range without sustaining any damage. More and more intelligence reports directly confirmed that the Apocalypse tank designed, developed, and manufactured by Yan country could withstand the armor-piercing shells of the Eagle Source M1 tank. The top leaders of various countries were thinking about how to respond. Especially the top leaders of major countries and countries bordering Yan country. They needed to think of a response plan. Some countries that have good relations with Saudi Arabia in the Camel region directly inquired about the Apocalypse tank. They also wanted to buy a batch of such tanks to take back as a trump card. Others directly contacted the military of Yan country. Yes, it's our iron brother Pakistan. Iron brother Pakistan has the money to buy the Apocalypse tank. At the same time, tank manufacturing companies in various countries began to look for response plans. Chapter 111. What? Pakistan wants to buy Apocalypse tanks? In particular, the top executives of tank manufacturing companies in the United States, Russia, France, and Gaul held emergency meetings to discuss the Yan Kingdom's Apocalypse tank and how they should respond next. If the news is true, the Yan Kingdom's Apocalypse tank will definitely seize their market share in tank arms sales. With defensive armor that can withstand the bombardment of the 125mm armor-piercing rounds fired by the Yan Kingdom's M1 tank at close range, the Apocalypse tank is enough to gain a large number of loyal customers. Therefore, a number of tank manufacturing companies must make changes and design and develop more powerful tanks to cope with the impact of the Yan Kingdom's Apocalypse tank. For them, this is not only a huge challenge, but also a rare opportunity. As long as they seize this opportunity, they may be able to create new glory. What? Brother Pakistan wants to buy our Apocalypse tank? After receiving the call from Mr. Wei, Lin Chenran was so shocked that he almost jumped up. Mr. Welly, you're kidding me, aren't you? He couldn't believe his ears and pressed on eagerly. Does Pakistan have the funds to purchase the apocalypse tanks? You know, an apocalypse tank is very expensive. Lin Chenran smiled and said, Mr. Welly, don't be ridiculous. Pakistan is notoriously poor. Where would they get the money to purchase such expensive apocalypse tanks? He continued, you know, a top-of-the-line apocalypse tank costs a whopping $1.5 million, and that's a discounted price for Saudi Arabia in the Camel region. If other countries want to buy, the price will have to go up a bit. After all, Saudi Arabia in the Camel region invested $250 million in research and development in our 077 mechanical arsenal, so the price is a bit cheaper. If Pakistan wants to buy, the price will definitely go up even more. Even if Pakistan is a brother, they have to settle accounts. Lin Chenran's words made Mr. Welly choke with embarrassment. Indeed, Pakistan is far too poor to come up with such a large sum of money for an apocalypse tank. When they cooperated with the 617 mechanical arsenal to develop the Type 80 tank, they didn't put out much money. Now they actually want to buy the apocalypse tank? Lin Chenran looked at Mr. Welly and added, Mr. Welly, I remember that Pakistan seems to have been cooperating with the 617 mechanical arsenal to develop the Type 80 tank. Then how come they still have money to buy the apocalypse tank? Lin Chenran asked directly. As a second generation main battle tank, the Type 80 tank has excellent performance. However, in terms of defensive armor, it is slightly inferior to the apocalypse tank. This does not affect its status as an excellent main battle tank. The price of the Type 80 tank is relatively affordable and the cost performance is very high. Compared with other main battle tanks of the same type, the Type 80 tank has obvious price advantages. It can be said to be great value for money. It can be said that it is spending a small amount of money to achieve great things. The Yan country's military has not purchased apocalypse tanks on a large scale. Pakistan wants to purchase apocalypse tanks. Military expenditures will definitely not allow it. Mr. Welly, you can let the Pakistanis come to see the apocalypse tank, but you also have to explain to them that this tank is very expensive. One apocalypse tank can buy several Type 80 tanks. They are both second generation main battle tanks, but the apocalypse tank is far ahead in terms of defense. But do they really need 20 or 30 apocalypse tanks? With that kind of money, they might as well buy Type 80 tanks. At least they can buy more tanks. Lin Chenran was clearly considering the economics. If the funds were used to buy Type 80 tanks, perhaps more tanks could be obtained, thereby improving overall combat effectiveness. Of course, Pakistan still wanted to buy apocalypse tanks. Lin Chenran was very happy to do so, contributing tens of millions of US dollars in orders to his own country. No matter how small the mosquito is, it is still meat. Mr. Welly fell into deep thought, pondering what Lin Chenran had just said. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that Lin Chenran was right. The Pakistani military and the Yan Kingdom military were simply a pair of brothers in distress because the military expenditures of both countries were so pitifully small. Yan state's major military spending cuts were primarily intended to boost its economy. Pakistan, on the other hand, was unable to provide more funding for its military due to its poverty. With this in mind, Elder Welly had a plan to persuade Pakistan. I know what to do. It's true that purchasing the apocalypse tanks isn't cost effective for Pakistan, Lin Chenran continued. I'm making this suggestion for the sake of our brother Pakistan. After all, if this deal goes through, we'll pocket tens of millions of dollars. I'm heartbroken. Lin Chenran truly had Pakistan in mind. Then, Elder Welly changed the subject. Lin boy, not long ago, Elder ZHU praised your 077 mechanical arsenal in front of me, saying that you are like the Yangtze River, with the waves behind pushing the waves in front, and even professional tank factories like them have been crushed by you. Hearing this, Lin Chenran couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, and then replied with a smile, haha, Elder Welly, don't listen to Elder ZHU's nonsense. Our 077 mechanical arsenal is compared with the 617 mechanical arsenal in the field of tanks. It is simply a dwarf compared to the giant. It is not worth mentioning at all. At this time, Lin Chenran knew that he had to keep a low profile and not be too ostentatious. It is necessary to keep a low profile at this time. Sneaking into the village. Don't shoot a gun. You boy. Very cunning. Elder Wendy scolded with a smile. Old Wendy, how is the progress of the Type 80 tank? Lin Chenran wanted to know the latest situation of the Type 80 tank. Upon hearing this, Elder Wendy quickly stopped laughing and said seriously, to be honest, progress isn't very fast. Development has stalled. Huh. Lin Chenran was puzzled. Development of the Type 80 tank has stalled? This, especially since the Type 80 developers had heard that there was a second generation main battle tank in China that was very successful and had received numerous orders. This suddenly made the engineers at the 617 mechanical arsenal even more restless. Unable to calm down, how could they fully devote themselves to research and development? This directly led to the stalled development of the Type 80 tank. Lin Chenran couldn't help. After all, this was an internal matter at the 617 mechanical arsenal, requiring their top management to resolve. Elder Wendy continued, in 3 days, old Zhang from the Navy's equipment department will be visiting the 077 mechanical arsenal. Please greet him. Upon hearing this, Lin Chenran suddenly realized that the Navy was targeting their own Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher. No problem, I've got it. Is the Navy adding new equipment? Lin Chenran asked quietly. The Navy today is truly being raised by a stepmother. Adding new equipment requires a long wait. Well, after seeing your 077 machinery arsenal's Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher, the higher-ups want to add a few destroyers to the Navy. Of course, your 077 machinery arsenal has also contributed to this. It's been providing a steady stream of blood transfusions to the military during this period. Here's the first chapter, with more to come. Chapter 112 Abdul, why are you sneaking around? Just come over here openly. Meanwhile, Abdul, a Saudi operative in the Camel region, sat in his office, his brow furrowed in distress. Despite his previous success in capturing and dismantling foreign intelligence operations in Saudi Arabia, he now faced a far more pressing situation. To obtain detailed data on the Apocalypse tank, various nations had infiltrated Saudi Arabia with even more powerful and elite intelligence operatives. These agents, operating with greater cover and employing more sophisticated tactics, had plunged Saudi security forces into an unprecedented predicament. Faced with such a dire situation, Abdul was forced to devote even more time and energy to responding. Meanwhile, domestic rivals seized the opportunity to fabricate false accusations against him. They seized every opportunity to discredit Abdul, weaken his position, and diminish his superiors' impressions of him. Fortunately, Abdul's previous outstanding performance had earned him the appreciation and trust of his superiors. Instead of being sidelined, he gained even more power and resources. Abdul slammed the table in anger, gritting his teeth and saying, "This is absolutely despicable. These foreign intelligence organizations are simply haunting us. No sooner do we destroy one than they rebuild another. At this rate, we'll never be able to completely eliminate them." Salman, standing by, shook his head helplessly and sighed. Alas, there's nothing we can do about it. Earlier, the US military leaked the data on the Apocalypse tank, causing us enormous trouble. The Apocalypse tank's armor is exceptionally strong, so naturally, the top leaders of various countries want detailed information on it. They've even issued a directive to obtain the metal from its body, to identify its unique metal materials. Suddenly, Abdul had a flash of inspiration. He had an idea. "Salman, I've come up with a solution that's not a solution. It can reduce the presence of foreign intelligence agents in our country," Abdul said mysteriously. Salman, standing by, looked at Abdul in confusion, wanting to know what Abdul had up his sleeve. Abdul then detailed his plan to Salman and asked for his thoughts. "What? Commander Abdul, you want to hold a grand test event for the Apocalypse tank and invite military observers from both home and abroad?" Salman's eyes widened in disbelief. Salman was visibly shocked by Abdul's crazy plan. Could this really work? The more he thought about it, the more absurd it seemed. Would the higher-ups agree with Abdul's idea? Abdul's calculations were well underway. Since so many countries were curious about the Apocalypse tank and wanted to see it for themselves, he figured they might as well show it off to everyone. This would have several advantages. First, it would reduce the frequent activities of foreign intelligence agents in Saudi Arabia, freeing the country's military from the burden of dealing with their harassment. Second, by showcasing the Apocalypse tank's capabilities, Saudi Arabia could demonstrate its military might, flex its muscles, instilling awe and fear in other countries. Finally, purchasing new weaponry was meant to enhance national security, and doing so would also improve the sense of security among the people of Saudi Arabia. As Abdul detailed the benefits of this plan, Salman's eyes lit up. It was indeed a brilliant idea, one that could solve many problems. However, they faced a crucial issue. The number of Apocalypse tanks currently in Saudi Arabia's possession in the Camel region was insufficient to implement Abdul's ambitious plan. Abdul smiled confidently and said, "That's easy. I'll send a telegram to Lin Chenran right away, asking them to have the 077 machinery and arsenal expedite the production of a batch of Apocalypse tanks for us. This way, we can quickly produce hunting type Apocalypse tanks and showcase our strength to the world." He added, by announcing this decision in advance, countries attempting to steal intelligence through various means will realize they no longer need to expend significant resources and effort on covert spying. Who would be willing to invest the extra money and risk surreptitiously obtaining intelligence on the Apocalypse tanks when they could obtain it openly and free of charge? Abdul's plan would not only protect his own interests, but also effectively curb espionage activities in other countries. A win-win situation. Immediately afterwards, Abdul asked Salman to come up with a plan. He also contacted Lin Chenran, who was far away in Yan country, by telegram, and prayed that he could help produce a batch of Apocalypse tanks as soon as possible. 077 Mechanical Arsenal in Linjiang Province, Yan country. At this moment, Lin Chenran was sitting in the office processing documents, when suddenly a telegram was delivered to him. The telegram came from Abdul, and the content was urgent and important. Lin Chenran immediately realized the seriousness of the matter, and he ordered his assistant Xiao Liang without hesitation, "Go and invite Mr. Song over. We need to discuss things immediately." Not long after, Song Xian hurried to the door of Lin Chenran's office, and knocked on the door. "Knock knock knock." Lin Chenran's calm voice came from the office. "Come in." Song Xian pushed open the door and strode in. He asked anxiously, "Chenran, what's the matter, that you called me here so anxiously?" As he spoke, he wiped the sweat from his forehead with his hand. Lin Chenran gestured for Song Xian to sit down first, then said to Xiao Liang, "Xiao Liang, please pour us 2 cups of tea." After Xiao Liang left, Lin Chenran slowly spoke, "Mr. Song, this is a telegram from Abdul. Please take a look." He handed the telegram to Song Xian. Song Xian took it, and quickly unfolded it, and began to read. His eyes were focused and serious. As he read deeper, his brows gradually furrowed, and a look of confusion and bewilderment appeared on his face. What is Saudi Arabia doing? Why are we expediting the production of a batch of Apocalypse tanks, and delivering them to them? After reading the telegram, Song Xian looked up at Lin Chenran blankly, hoping to get some explanation or clue from him. However, Lin Chenran looked at him mysteriously, his lips curled slightly, as if hiding something. "Guess." Lin Chenran's tone was tinged with teasing, leaving Song Xian feeling a little helpless. He rolled his eyes and responded dissatisfiedly, "You are still a child." Goose goose goose. Song Xian was obviously not interested in this ambiguous answer, and he decided to take more direct action. So he stood up and prepared to leave the office, as if to say, "If you are not willing to tell me the truth, then I will leave." Seeing Song Xian's actions, Lin Chenran realized that he could not continue to tease him. He quickly picked up another telegram from the table and handed it to Song Xian. Song Xian snatched the telegram and couldn't wait to read it. When his eyes swept over the text on the telegram, his expression instantly became surprised and unbelievable. "This," Song Xian muttered to himself, and the telegram in his hand trembled unconsciously. "The Saudi kingdom in the Camel region is showing off its muscles in front of all countries?" Lin Chenran smiled slightly. "Yes, this is why Abdul is so anxious for us to prepare a batch of Apocalypse tanks." Chapter 113. Everything is ready, only consent is missing. Will the Saudi Arabian government's grand display of the Apocalypse tanks from the 077 machinery and military factory in the Camel region have any impact on them? Song Xian frowned slightly, feeling a little worried. Lin Chenran, Seeing Song Xian's worried expression, couldn't help but laugh. Don't worry, Mr. Song, there will definitely be an impact, but for our 077 machinery and military factory, the benefits outweigh the disadvantages. Lin Chenran's words left Song Xian puzzled. He didn't understand why there were benefits. So Song Xian asked, why? Lin Chenran smiled and explained, the Saudi Arabian government in the Camel region is now showing off its apocalypse tanks. Is this advertising our products? This way, the whole world will know how powerful our apocalypse tanks are, and our reputation will be even greater. Then, we will definitely receive more and more orders, which will be very beneficial to the development of our factory. After listening to Lin Chenran's explanation, Song Xian finally felt relieved. He understood the reasoning, and began to think that this opportunity was indeed rare. Song Xian expressed his concerns, but I'm still a little worried about leaks. Lin Chenran waved his hand and said confidently, don't worry, Mr. Song. Even if they take the finished tank metal pieces back for a search, they won't be able to deduce the formula for our special basalt steel, so there's no need to worry about leaks. After Lin Chenran's explanation, Song Xian completely put his doubts to rest. Then Lin Chenran instructed, Mr. Song, please arrange for the production workshop to expedite a batch of apocalypse tanks. Also, the apocalypse tanks previously scheduled for delivery to the military will be temporarily suspended and given priority to the Saudi kingdom in the Luocho region. Song Xian nodded and immediately set about making the necessary arrangements. He was a fool not to profit from the money. As for the Yan kingdom military, Lin Chenran would explain everything clearly to them. He would then give them some compensation, and they would surely be happy to cut in line for the Saudi kingdom in the Luocho region. Seeing that everything was arranged, Lin Chenran sent a telegram to Abdul, who was far away in the Camel region of Saudi Arabia. The content of the telegram, the apocalypse tanks you need, will be expedited in production and delivered as a priority. A luxurious manor in the Camel region of Saudi Arabia. After receiving Lin Chenran's telegram, Abdul smiled brightly, and his heart was relieved. Salman, Lin has agreed to expedite the production of a batch of apocalypse tanks for us, and give priority to delivering the tanks originally delivered to the Yan country military to us. Abdul excitedly shared the good news with Salman. If Lin Chenran agreed to deliver a large number of apocalypse tanks, then Abdul's plan would be half successful. Salman asked in disbelief, really? Of course it's true. Abdul said excitedly. Lin said he has issued an order to expedite production, asking their production workshop to work overtime to rush it out and then ship it over as soon as possible. Hearing this, Salman was also very excited. Great, this way, our plan can be implemented smoothly. Abdul smiled and nodded. Yes, with this batch of apocalypse tanks, we can better deal with various challenges and crises. Neither of them expected Lin Chenran to be so cooperative. Not only did he agree to their request, he also took the initiative to offer to give them priority over the tanks originally intended for the Yan state military. This made them full of gratitude to Lin Chenran. Joel thought to himself, Lin, in order to ensure the smooth implementation of my plan, he actually delayed the delivery of the apocalypse tanks to the Yan kingdom military. I can't make things difficult for him. I'll give him some compensation after this is over. Salman smiled and said, Commander Abdul, if you do this, then our plan might be successful. Abdul nodded and said, yes, I hope so. Now we just wait for the higher-ups' decision. Their plan, dubbed flexing muscles, had long been submitted to their superiors, but there had been no response. Abdul felt a sense of unease, unsure whether they would approve it. Just then, the phone on Abdul's desk rang suddenly, breaking the silence in the room. Salman pointed to the phone and whispered, Commander Abdul, this is a call from the higher-ups. Abdul's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly looked up, a flicker of nervousness in his eyes. He gestured to Salman, signaling him to be silent, and then quickly picked up the phone on his desk. Hello. It's me. Abdul's voice was deep and serious, revealing a sense of nervousness. He listened quietly to the voice on the other end of the line. Finally, the senior executive finished speaking. Abdul was silent for a moment, took a deep breath, and slowly said, okay, I understand. He then added, I'll make the arrangements properly. Don't worry, I'll do it beautifully. After hanging up the phone, Abdul's face broke into an excited smile. Salman, listening to this, raised his lips slightly. It's done. The Saudi high-level officials in the Camel region agreed to their plan. Salman, the higher-ups agree with our plan. You will refine it, while I will continue to work with Lin Chenran to ensure it is foolproof. Abdul said seriously. This concerned his own future and the security of the entire country. Don't worry, Commander Abdul, I will make the arrangements properly. After that, there would be a promotion and a raise. Immediately afterwards, Saudi Arabia in the Camel region announced that it would hold a grand test and rehearsal for the Apocalypse tank in a month, inviting military experts from both China and abroad to witness the event. The announcement immediately sparked heated debate. Unexpectedly, Saudi Arabia came clean. Nations around the world, haven't you been sending intelligence agents here to get detailed information about the Apocalypse tank? Then I'll arrange a test and let you see it up close. This left the top leaders stunned. Such an operation was even possible. At least Saudi Arabia in the Camel region openly announced the Apocalypse tank's test and even arranged for military experts from other countries to observe it up close. This was a bold innovation. Immediately after the announcement, foreign intelligence agents active in the Camel region went silent. Some were even ordered to leave Saudi Arabia in the Camel region. Why keep all those agents around? Isn't that a waste of taxpayers' money? Funds must be spent where they matter most. At this time, Lin Chenran, who was far away in Yan country, arranged the production task of the Apocalypse tank, and then followed Song Xian to receive a heavyweight leader of the Navy. Chapter 114 The loveliest old man. Lin Chenran stood in front of the door of his own complex building. Today he was here to welcome Mr. Zhang, the head of the equipment department of the Yan Kingdom Navy. Not long after, the military convoy slowly drove in front of the complex building. As soon as the car stopped, several leaders of the Yan Kingdom military got out of the car. They were dressed in neat military uniforms, with serious and solemn expressions. Mr. Zhang, welcome to the 077 mechanical arsenal to inspect and guide the work. Lin Chenran recognized the old man at a glance and walked forward to greet him with a smile. When he saw Mr. Zhang, a familiar picture immediately emerged in his mind. Mr. Zhang stood on tiptoe, staring at the Eagle Source aircraft carrier in the distance, his eyes full of envy and desire. Mr. Zhang once said with emotion, if our Yang Kingdom can also build such an aircraft carrier, I would be willing to die. When Mr. Zhang saw Lin Chenran, a hearty smile appeared on his face, and he strode forward to greet him. Lin boy, your name is well known in the military, Mr. Zhang said enthusiastically. Lin Chenran smiled a little embarrassedly and wiped the sweat from his forehead nervously. He hesitated for a moment, then continued, it's not worth mentioning, it's really not worth mentioning. In fact, Lin Chenran knew very well that his reputation in the military circle of Yan country was stinky. He was good at making money, very good at making money, and was a unique existence in the third-line military factory. However, Mr. Zhang shook his head, smiled slightly and said to Lin Chenran, how can it be not worth mentioning? Everyone calls you the big god of wealth in the military. No, it's just a little bit of money, and it was all earned by the army. Of course, Lin Chenran did not admit that his own 077 mechanical military factory was very profitable, and he directly used a trick of diverting the trouble to others, and pulled the Yan country army out to take the lead. Mr. Zhang suddenly laughed. Old Wei told me before that you were a little sly and a little fox. I didn't believe it at the time, but now I believe it. Lin Chenran on the side smiled awkwardly, and the sweat on his forehead flowed down unconsciously. It's so embarrassing. Lin Chenran tried to explain. Mr. Zhang, please don't listen to rumors. There was no way. He didn't know how to defend himself. Suddenly, a burst of laughter resounded throughout the complex building. After a period of light-hearted jokes, the atmosphere among everyone became harmonious, and the original sense of awkwardness and tension dissipated. Then Lin Chenran warmly invited Mr. Zhang to walk into the complex building of the 077 mechanical arsenal and come to the spacious and bright conference room. As soon as everyone sat down, Mr. Zhang couldn't contain his curiosity and expectation, and eagerly asked Lin Chenran about the Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher in the hands of the 077 mechanical arsenal. Facing Mr. Zhang's questions, Lin Chenran always maintained patience and concentration, and answered them in detail one by one. Lin boy, I want to know if the Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher can really be boarded on a warship. This is undoubtedly one of Mr. Zhang's most concerned issues. Once it's confirmed that the Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher can be equipped on warships, the Yanjiuo military will begin designing a new missile destroyer to replace the outdated warships, some dating back 30 or 40 years. These aging warships are struggling to maintain national maritime security and face numerous challenges. Therefore, leveraging the successful development of the Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher by the 077 machinery arsenal, the Yanjiuo military hopes to seize this opportunity to redesign an advanced missile destroyer and inject new vitality into the country's coastal defense capabilities. The relevant technical support already exists domestically, eliminating the need to import relevant technology from abroad. The most crucial factor in this is the substantial financial support that the 077 machinery arsenal continues to provide to the Yanjiuo military. This funding has enabled the Yanjiuo military to gradually accumulate a certain level of strength and confidence. Lin Chenran responded confidently, Master Zhang, rest assured. The Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher was indeed originally designed for land combat, but with a few minor improvements, it can be fully adapted to shipboard environments. Hearing Lin Chenran's resolute response, the Yan Kingdom naval officers present were all overjoyed, their faces filled with excited smiles. This moment was of great significance to them. The Yan Kingdom Navy had not acquired a new surface ship in a long time. Now, thanks to the strong support of the 077 machinery arsenal, they finally had the opportunity to upgrade. This was undoubtedly exciting news. Master Zhang, with the rapid development of our country, our navy will become increasingly powerful, and warships will be launched and put into service at a rapid pace. In the future, we will definitely have our own aircraft carrier, Lin Chenran said with great ambition. Time will tell. I believe the future will get better and better, but I may not see this grand occasion. Master Zhang looked at Lin Chenran, his eyes intertwined with expectation and regret. He believed the grand occasion described by Lin Chenran, but he also knew that it would take time to accumulate, and he himself might not be able to witness the arrival of that day. No, Mr. Zhang, you will definitely see the day when our country becomes strong, Lin Chenran said firmly. He had already set his sights on a target, the Varyak aircraft carrier in the hands of the Russian Bear. This aircraft carrier was originally built by the Russian Bear in 1985, this year, but before it was officially incorporated into the Russian Navy, the Russian Bear collapsed in 1991 and then began to split up. The Varyak aircraft carrier was also shelved. By then, Lin Chenran will be able to purchase the Varyak aircraft carrier at a bargain price and then make various improvements to allow it to roam the seas. Lin Chenran then introduced his own Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher to a group of senior naval officials and took them to the test site for a close-up view. The senior naval officials of the Yan state were very satisfied with the Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher. This was the weaponry they had always dreamed of. After watching it, Mr. Zhang was also very satisfied with the Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher. Then, in front of Lin Chenran and everyone, he made a decision and decided to use the Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher designed and developed by the 077 mechanical arsenal on the new missile destroyers of Yan country. A month passed quickly. After Lin Chenran explained all the matters of the 077 mechanical arsenal, he took a group of people on a plane to leave Yan country and go to Saudi country in the Camel region. He was invited by Abdul to participate in the test and experimental observation meeting of the Apocalypse tank. Lin Chenran, who had just got off the plane, was taken away by the staff arranged by Abdul and taken to a luxurious manor. Lin Chenran, who arrived at the manor, saw his big money sponsor, Abdul, who greeted him at the gate. Lin, welcome to Saudi country. Abdul stepped forward enthusiastically and shook hands with Lin Chenran. Abdul, thank you for your invitation. Chapter 115 The world's most anticipated public tank test has begun. Lin Chenran was somewhat flattered. He had never thought that Abdul would entertain him so warmly. Lin, you are a distinguished guest of our Saudi Arabia and deserve the highest level of courtesy, Abdul said sincerely. He felt that he had not done well enough. Recalling the time when he was in Yan country, Lin Chenran had spared no effort to entertain him. Not only did he invite him to taste authentic Yan country cuisine, but he also sold him top-level weapons and equipment, which made him highly regarded by his superiors after returning to his country. For Abdul, Lin Chenran was his nobleman. Entering the luxurious manor, Lin Chenran could not help but be shocked by the luxurious scene before him. This place is truly a true portrayal of "with a piece of cloth on my head, I'm the richest in the world." The interior of the entire manor is decorated with golden splendor, the crystal chandeliers are dazzling, the leather sofas are soft and comfortable, and even the toilet is made of gold. Then, Lin Chenran followed Abdul to the conference room. They need to hold a small meeting in advance to communicate in advance and discuss the next plan of action. After everyone sat down, Abdul immediately thanked Lin Chenran for his strong support. Without the large number of apocalypse tanks, the impact would have been less impressive, perhaps not the one he had hoped for. No, Abdul, what are you doing? Lin Chenran looked at Abdul, who was constantly expressing his gratitude, and felt a little flustered. He really didn't understand why Abdul had suddenly acted like this. We are friends, and it's only natural for us to look out for each other. Your large purchase of apocalypse tanks is a perfectly normal business practice. There's no one helping anyone else, Lin Chenran explained hastily. It was simply a fair and equitable sale of goods, but this time the goods were a little special arms. Although Lin Chenran indirectly helped Abdul, he also benefited greatly from it. Through this transaction, the 077 machinery arsenal received a large amount of funds, allowing for further development. It was simply a mutual achievement. Abdul saw this and didn't say much. He would cherish Lin Chenran's help. Immediately thereafter, the two sides began discussing how to better implement the test plan. After 2 hours of intense discussion, they finally reached a consensus. Meanwhile, military experts from various countries flew to Saudi Arabia in the Camel region. They were extremely curious, eager to witness the apocalypse tank, capable of withstanding armor-piercing rounds fired at close range by the United States M1 tanks. These military experts were entrusted with a crucial mission: to observe the apocalypse tank up close and record its detailed data. They were even given access to the special basalt metal plates clad on the apocalypse tank, which they would then hand over to their own laboratories to analyze its structure. Time flew by, and finally, the fateful day of Saudi Arabia's apocalypse tank test in the Camel region arrived. This event not only captured the attention of the Saudi people, but also garnered significant attention from around the world. Military commentators from around the world, cordially invited by Saudi Arabia, gathered at the test site to witness this historic moment and determine if the apocalypse tank truly lived up to its hype. As this grand test took place, intelligence personnel from several tank-rich nations began to stir. Knowing this was a rare opportunity, they seized the opportunity, taking advantage of Saudi Arabia's intense focus on the apocalypse tank test, to locate those tanks that hadn't been tested, remove fragments or debris from their armor, and bring them back for a search. However, the Saudis in the Luocho region had anticipated this possibility. To avoid such an awkward situation, they decided to gather all the apocalypse tanks at the test site to create a striking atmosphere. This was one reason why the Saudis in the Luocho region placed such a large order for apocalypse tanks with the 077 mechanical arsenal and requested expedited production. They hoped to create a powerful visual impact by displaying the massive apocalypse tanks, while also flexing their muscles and deterring any evil-minded neighboring countries. Lin Chenran and the senior executives of the 077 mechanical arsenal followed the Saudis in the Luocho region to the pre-prepared test site. Meanwhile, military experts from other countries also flocked to the test site. When military experts from various countries saw Lin Chenran and his companions, they couldn't help but wonder, could this group be representatives of the legendary Apocalypse Tank Design and Development Company? After Saudi Arabia's military brass arrived at the testing site in the Camel region, the globally anticipated test finally began. The two main characters in this test were the Apocalypse tanks from Yan Kingdom and the M1 tanks from the Eagle. First to enter, of course, was a star of the show, the Apocalypse tanks. At Abdul's command, 50 Apocalypse tanks rolled into the testing area in unison, like steel behemoths. The scene was a truly spectacular spectacle. The sight stunned the military experts present. Could this be the legendary Apocalypse tank? How majestic. The difference between the photo and the real thing is so stark. Seeing it in person is even more astonishing. The visual impact of the 50 Apocalypse tanks rolling into the testing area in an orderly formation was so intense that even Lin Chenran was moved. Abdul, holding a microphone, loudly introduced the tank to everyone present. This is the Apocalypse tank, the second generation main battle tank jointly designed and developed by Saudi Arabia and Iran. Its performance is exceptional. He paused, then continued. Later, Saudi Arabia will establish a supporting production facility, and we will be able to produce second generation main battle tanks. The Saudi officials in the Camel region, upon seeing the majestic Apocalypse tank and the astonished expressions of the international military experts, nodded in satisfaction. The Apocalypse tank had originally been purchased to deter neighboring countries harboring evil intentions. Now, it was a showdown to the military experts. This convinced the Saudi officials in the Camel region that the Apocalypse tank was not only a good investment, but also a huge profit. Abdul then arranged the most exciting part of the test, a spear and shield duel between the Eagle's M1 tank and the Yad Nation's Apocalypse tank. At the other end of the test site, an Apocalypse tank had already entered the testing area and parked steadily, its driver leaving in an orderly manner. Then, the Eagle Source's M1 tank entered the arena. The two tanks were very close. At Abdul's signal, the M1 tank fired an armor-piercing round at the Apocalypse tank in front of it. In an instant, the sound of the explosion resounded throughout the test site. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116. Your face isn't swollen yet. Then continue. The test results were self-evident, identical to previously leaked intelligence. The armor-piercing rounds fired from the Eagle Source M1 tank's 125mm smoothbore cannon slammed into the Apocalypse tank's armor, causing a violent explosion, but were unable to penetrate its sturdy armor. The Apocalypse tank's surface was left with only a relatively small dent, not the explosion crater predicted by military experts from various countries. Hiss. While the results from intelligence and those witnessed firsthand were identical, the shock they brought were worlds apart. Lin Chenran, standing nearby, curled his lips slightly, thinking to himself, I just love the shocked expressions of you unworldly people. Abdul, observing this, smiled with satisfaction. He was extremely pleased with the result. It would not only deter other nations, but also enhance the sense of security for the people at home. It was truly a win-win situation. Abdul, can we take a closer look at the Apocalypse tank and examine the armor-piercing rounds used by the M1 tank? J. Katz asked gravely. As a proud American military expert, J. Katz always believed that the M1 tank was one of the most powerful tanks in the world. When he saw that his country's M1 tanks were unable to penetrate the Apocalypse tank's defensive armor at close range, he was confused and incredulous. He thought this situation was a joke. How could it be possible? So he began to suspect that there was some kind of cooperative relationship between Saudi Arabia and Yan Kingdom in the Camel region. They might have deliberately exaggerated the Apocalypse tank's strength and used fake armor-piercing rounds for testing to create a sense of deterrence. J. Katz was no stranger to this practice. Similar things happened frequently in the American military industry. Just like the previous M2 Bradley personnel carrier, in the 1982 test, they actually used a rocket launcher produced by the Russian Bear to test the M2 personnel carrier's defensive armor capabilities, instead of using the latest anti-tank missiles equipped by the Russian Bear. The purpose of this was obviously to make the test results look better, but in fact it concealed the true situation. Abdul immediately understood J. Katz's intention. He clearly wanted to check whether the armor-piercing rounds used by the M1 tanks had been replaced by the Swords in the Camel region. He suspected that the Swordas had secretly substituted less powerful rounds. Abdul, unfazed, had no problem asking J-Cats to check the M1 tank's ammunition. J-Cats had even approached him to punch him in the face, so Abdul really didn't mind slapping him. This was not only a personal humiliation for J-Cats, but also a blow to the United States. Once the armor-piercing rounds used in the test M1 tanks were confirmed to be flawless, all the pressure would shift to the United States. Countries around the world would question why the M1 tank's armor-piercing rounds couldn't penetrate the Apocalypse tank's armor. This would force countries, when purchasing tanks, to consider whether they really needed the expensive M1 tanks. It would be better to purchase a batch of the more affordable Apocalypse tanks. After all, the M1 tanks were ineffective in penetrating the Apocalypse tanks on the battlefield. At that moment, Abdul raised his hand slightly, and the Saudi personnel in the camel area nearby called the M1 tank under test to come over. Immediately after receiving the instructions, the M1 tank, having just completed its test, slowly moved toward the rostrum. Soon, the M1 tank arrived before the crowd, stopping steadily and awaiting inspection. Military experts from around the world could no longer contain their excitement and curiosity, eager to approach and take a closer look. However, this was Saudi territory in the camel area, and no one was allowed to approach without their permission. Seeing the eagerness of the crowd, Abdul smiled confidently. He extended a sincere invitation to the crowd. "Friends, you may come forward and inspect the armor-piercing rounds of this M1 tank." He then addressed the representative of the United States. "Mr. J, you may enter the tank and examine the shells yourself." Abdul's actions were simply to ensure that everyone could see for themselves that the Swordas in the Camel region had not tampered with the shells. A thorough inspection yielded astonishing results. All the shells were genuine authentic M1 tank shells, with no signs of counterfeiting. Hiss. The military experts from various countries present gasped in disbelief, their faces filled with disbelief. Some even rubbed their eyes, wondering if they were seeing things. All the shells they examined were genuine, manufactured in the United States. This proved that the Yan Kingdom's Apocalypse tanks had genuinely withstood the armor-piercing rounds fired at close range by the United States M1 tanks, and remained unharmed. This was truly incredible. You know, armor-piercing rounds are specifically designed to target armored targets, powerful enough to penetrate even thick steel armor. Impossible, absolutely impossible. A Western military expert muttered to himself, his voice thick with disbelief. J-Cats, standing nearby, was pale, his lips trembling, his eyes filled with despair and bewilderment. After inspecting the entire batch of shells, he seemed to have lost his soul, completely lost in thought. How is this possible? How could this be? How could Yan country possess such advanced special steel for tanks? J-Cat couldn't accept this fact, his heart filled with confusion and bewilderment. In his view, Yan country had always been a technologically backward and economically weak country. Whether in military or industrial fields, it was far behind many other countries, especially compared to the United States. The Apocalypse tank shattered his preconceived notion. Abdul, upon seeing J-Cat's loss of composure, was filled with excitement, as if he had drunk a bottle of ice water in the desert, a profound quenching of thirst. Abdul thought to himself, what's so great about the Eagle Source? If you, J-Cats, weren't an Eagle Source military expert, I'd kill you. You're nothing. Acting arrogantly in front of me, bah. Still feeling unsatisfied, and feeling his blow to the Eagle Source wasn't strong enough, Abdul immediately added another tactic to the mix. He planned to use the ammunition from the M1 tanks that J-Cats and other countries had just inspected to test other items, proving that they were indeed manufactured by the Eagle Source. Upon hearing this, the military experts from various countries gasped. Hiss. Abdul then proceeded to slap the Eagle Source in the face. This J-Cats wanted to stop him, but Abdul had already given the order, and he was ultimately too late. Chapter 117. Arrogant and domineering. I will break your defense. After Abdul gave the order, the test M1 tank roared and sped toward the testing site. A moment later, J-Cats and the others heard a series of violent explosions. The detonations shocked everyone present. This directly proved that the Swordas in the Camel region had not joined forces with the Yan Kingdom, to test the M1 tanks with dummy rounds. Hiss. Everyone present gasped. The pressure instantly fell on the Eagle Source. The Eagle Source didn't need to admit it. The test results spoke for themselves. The armor-piercing rounds fired from the 125mm smoothbore guns of its M1 tanks were unable to penetrate the Apocalypse tank's armor. To further provoke JCats, Abdul specifically praised the Eagle Source's M1 tank's shells for their power, claiming they could destroy all subsequent test targets. While they could destroy the test targets, they couldn't destroy the Apocalypse tanks. Lin Chenran, standing nearby, heard this, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, a subtle smile forming. Military experts from other countries also gathered to watch, eager to see how JCats would resolve the challenge. JCats' face darkened, and he cursed inwardly. Damn Abdul. How could he deliberately arrange such a test to humiliate us, the Eagle Source? Saudi Arabia, you'll regret this. JCats cursed sullenly as he angrily left the test site. Military experts from Saudi Arabia and other countries oppressed by the Eagle Source and the Camel region witnessed this scene. Their faces lit up with hearty smiles. They felt immensely pleased. This was a small victory. JCats, arrogant and self-righteous as a Eagle Source military expert, had arrived at the test site with an air of arrogance and contempt, demanding everyone's attention. However, Abdul had now successfully disgusted JCats, leaving him utterly humiliated. He was going to keep him from stepping down. He was going to extinguish his arrogance. He was going to make sure he didn't dare act arrogantly again. As the Apocalypse tank test continued, the M1 tank continued to fire a variety of projectiles at the tank from all angles. The spectacle was incredibly spectacular, providing military experts from around the world with a deeper understanding of the Apocalypse tank's defensive armor. To celebrate the successful conclusion of the Apocalypse tank test, Saudi Arabia hosted a grand banquet for military experts from around the world. The banquet featured a dazzling array of delicious food and wine, and music and laughter mingled, creating a joyful and peaceful atmosphere. The successful Apocalypse tank test not only made the Saudi people proud, but also impressed other countries with Saudi Arabia's military prowess. This achievement directly deterred those countries and forces with ulterior motives, realizing that Saudi Arabia possessed a formidable military capability. The vast plains were particularly advantageous, making it easier for tanks to travel long distances. Saudi Arabia could deploy the Apocalypse tanks in a blitzkrieg or direct counterattack, which deterred even ambitious neighboring countries from provoking them. Furthermore, the Saudi leadership's decision to conduct the Apocalypse tank test gained widespread public support, and public support for the Saudi leadership continued to rise. This grand Apocalypse tank test experiment showcased Saudi Arabia's military prowess to the world. Ultimately, it had no drawbacks and only benefits. By this point, Lin Chenran had become the undisputed star of the grand banquet. Abdul excitedly introduced him to the assembled military experts. This is Mr. Lin Chenran from the Liang military factory in Yan country. He then added, Mr. Lin is in charge of the factory's external sales of weapons and equipment. He's a young, promising elite, and he's also the deputy chief engineer for the Apocalypse tank, the star product of this exhibition. To minimize the attention and vigilance of other countries, Lin Chenran had specifically agreed with Abdul beforehand that his true identity as the director of the 077 Machinery military factory must not be revealed. Therefore, he was uniformly referred to as the head of military sales and export. As expected, after Abdul's introduction, Lin Chenran was immediately greeted with enthusiastic acclaim and admiration by the representatives. Military experts from many countries flocked to him, eagerly inquiring about the details of the Apocalypse tank. The Apocalypse tank's unique armored defense capabilities were truly captivating, undoubtedly attracting widespread attention. Why wasn't Saudi Arabia in the Luocho region alarmed by this, instead actively hosting such a grand banquet for the 077 machinery and arsenal, Liang Arsenal? The reason was that the 077 machinery and arsenal would be responsible for the production of the Apocalypse tanks for the next 2 years, exclusively for Saudi Arabia and Yan state in the Luocho region. This meant that other countries seeking to obtain a large number of tanks would have to wait 2 years for the 077 machinery and arsenal to complete production. For Saudi Arabia in the Luocho region, this situation posed little threat. Furthermore, neighboring countries in the Luocho region lacked the funds to purchase these expensive apocalypse tanks. Each apocalypse tank costs over $1.5 million, and with the associated supporting equipment, the average cost per vehicle is at least $2 million. Several countries have expressed strong interest in the 077 machinery and arsenal's apocalypse tanks, and have indicated that they are likely to place orders after their visits. The total order value is expected to exceed $300 million, and these are still preliminary negotiations. Meanwhile, Shane Kerr, the head of the Camel region's Eagle Source, was meeting with Jay Katz, a military expert from his country. Jay, you witnessed the apocalypse tank today. Just as the intelligence reports said, it withstood the close-range armor-piercing rounds from our M1 tanks without a single problem. Shane Kerr wanted an answer from Jay Katz. Although he had already gathered this information from intelligence, he still wanted it from Jay Katz. Captain Kerr, the apocalypse tank really withstood it, just as the intelligence reports said. Jay Katz recounted what he had witnessed, exaggerating and embellishing the story of the sordid disrespect for the Eagle Source. Shane Kerr's brow furrowed at the revelation. The Sudis in the Camel region were truly despicable. But Shane Kerr suppressed his anger and resisted an impulsive outburst. In front of outsiders, Shane Kerr was always a gentleman. No matter how his defenses were breached, he never got angry. He sighed deeply. This situation is dire. I never thought Yan country could develop such a strong special steel for tanks. Then, Shane Kerr sent back the information he had learned by telegram. He awaited the results. Chapter 118, Mr. Wendy, I'm here to collect money. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, the Russian high-ranking officials also received intelligence reports from their Saudi military experts in the Camel region, as well as detailed information from the KGB. Upon learning that Yan's apocalypse tank had withstood the close-range bombardment of the Eagle Source's 125mm smoothbore gun and remained unharmed, the Russian high-ranking officials were stunned. After carefully examining the intelligence regarding the apocalypse tank's engine and 125mm smoothbore gun, they all smiled in delight. It turned out that the engine and smoothbore gun used in Yan's apocalypse tank were both Soviet-made, especially the 125mm smoothbore gun, which they had manufactured domestically and exported to Yan. This eased the Russian high-ranking officials' anxieties and concerns. Instead, they hoped that Yan's apocalypse tank would become a global hit. With each tank sold, they would reap greater profits. Furthermore, they relied on Yan for the maintenance and replacement of spare parts. If they so desired, they could cut off Yan's supply at any time, thus maintaining control of the situation. As for the special steel used in the apocalypse tank's armor, while Russia was quite interested, they didn't consider it essential. Russia's top brass were extremely confident in their own special tank steel. Furthermore, they didn't believe Yan's was far ahead. The fact that Yan's apocalypse tanks were able to withstand the 125mm smoothbore gun of the Eagle Source M1 tanks in testing was likely due to Yan's adding thicker steel plating to the tanks. To minimize the risk, Russia's top brass decided to take action. They decided to deploy 2 additional T-72 tank regiments to garrison the border with Yan to ensure security. Even if Yan's apocalypse tanks were to make a move, Russia would be able to respond promptly. Lin Chenran, returning from the Camel region of the Sand Country, was immediately blocked in his office by the Yan military. Upon entering, he saw a stern-looking elderly man in a military uniform sitting at his desk. This man was none other than Mr. Wei, the head of the Yan military's equipment department. Lin Chenran smiled awkwardly. He quickly stepped forward and greeted him. Mr. Wei, why are you in my office? Mr. Wei looked at Lin Chenran and said seriously, why can't I be in your office? Then he asked, is the Camel area Sand Country fun? Hearing this, cold sweat instantly broke out on Lin Chenran's forehead. He thought to himself, damn, who said that domestic intelligence personnel's reconnaissance capabilities are weaker than those abroad? I'm the first to express my dissatisfaction. As soon as I landed, I was blocked by Mr. Wei. Then, Mr. Wei smiled slightly, with a hint of cunning in his eyes. Lin boy, I have to congratulate you on making a fortune. You just went to the Saudi kingdom in the Camel area, and you actually won orders worth hundreds of millions of US dollars. When Lin Chenran heard this, he secretly said in his heart. It's over. He found out. But he still pretended to be calm and said with a smile, "Oh, Mr. Welly, don't joke. This order of hundreds of millions of US dollars is not even started. The customer is only interested in the apocalypse tank of our 077 mechanical arsenal. It's hard to say whether it will be purchased." After hearing this, Mr. Welly raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and a smile flashed in his eyes. "Haha, do you think I will believe it?" Seeing this, Lin Chenran hurriedly continued to explain, "Really, Mr. Welly, how dare I lie to you? I'm the honest little prince, and every word I say is absolutely credible." After saying this, he deliberately put on an innocent look. Mr. Welly couldn't help laughing out loud. Pooh, for a moment, the whole office was filled with a cheerful atmosphere. The laughter of Lin Chenran and Mr. Welly rose and fell, as if even the air was filled with molecules of joy. After the joke, Lin Chenran and Mr. Welly began to discuss seriously. "Lin boy, to be honest, I admire you very much. I didn't expect that I would negotiate several big orders for you this time," Mr. Welly said with emotion, his eyes full of admiration. Lin Chenran's performance was excellent. Among the younger generation, he was the best and far ahead. Hearing Mr. Welly's praise, Lin Chenran quickly waved his hands and said, "No, no, no, you are embarrassing me. I can't bear your high evaluation." Lin Chenran knows his own business, and he knows very well how capable he is. "Then I don't care. We in the military have already considered this a deal," Elder Welly said bluntly and unreasonably. "This? Elder Welly, are you forcing your way through? This is robbery." Lin Chenran felt his temper instantly rise at the words. This wasn't just catching a dead chicken and letting the 077 mechanical arsenal eat it up. Is the Yanji military so short of money now? They're just robbing it outright. The Yanji military has always been short of military funds, wishing they could split each one into 3 parts. Especially after the Yanji Navy began building missile destroyers, the limited military funds were directly squeezed dry. That's not your fault, the 077 mechanical arsenal. You developed the Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher, which caused a huge backlash from the Navy. There were calls a day, a request telegram every 3 days, and the Navy's top brass went to the commander to complain every week. Look, the commander got annoyed and directly approved the Navy's design and development of an advanced missile destroyer, with the production of 2 as a priority. Elder Welly spoke, his voice becoming increasingly disgruntled. The already limited military budget was directly squeezed dry by the Yan Kingdom Navy to build new missile destroyers. Just then, when Old Welly heard that the 077 mechanical arsenal had negotiated several large orders with Saudi Arabia in the Luocho region, he came directly to block the door and beg for money. "Old Welly, if your military doesn't have the funds, you can just hold off on designing and manufacturing new missile destroyers. You can't put the blame on us, the 077 mechanical arsenal. Now we are on for designing and developing the Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher?" Lin Chenran asked angrily. The Yan Kingdom military was clearly making a specious argument. "In a word, will you support us? Also, your 077 mechanical arsenal gave our military's apocalypse tanks to Saudi Arabia in the Luocho region first, so our military didn't have any use for them. This deserves compensation." Old Welly blushed, but turned and disappeared without a trace. He asked directly. Then, Old Welly handed Lin Chenran a piece of intelligence about the Russians deploying 2 additional tank regiments on the border, and asked him to review it. "Hey, when you're under someone's roof, you have to bow your head." Lin Chenran sighed deeply. "As long as the order is completed, there will definitely be a share for your military. This is considered spending money to ward off disaster." When Elder Welly saw that Lin Chenran agreed, a bright smile appeared on his face. "That's right. Chapter 119 Lin Chenran, it's the same, whether I'm there or not." Old Welly looked at the unbelievably young guy in front of him and showed a gratified smile. "Haha, Lin boy, you are really getting more and more promising. You know the big picture and take the overall situation into consideration. It is a blessing for our Yan country to have talents like you." Lin Chenran smiled bitterly helplessly. "Old Welly, please don't praise me. How can I deserve such a high evaluation from you? And every time you cut me, I'm covered in blood." Hearing this, Old Welly couldn't help laughing, and his hearty laughter echoed throughout the office. Seeing this, Lin Chenran quickly struck while the iron was hot and explained to Elder Wei, even though we've been able to secure these apocalypse tank orders, just like before, we can only give your military a small portion. Because we need to invest the majority of our funds in purchasing production lines to increase production capacity. As you know, our 077 machinery arsenal's production capacity is currently limited. We can only prioritize supplying the military and Saudi Arabia in the Camel region. As for orders from other countries, delivery may not be until 2 years later. Therefore, we need to continue to increase production capacity. Elder Wei was well aware of the interests involved, but he still asked with concern, after the production line is upgraded, will there still be orders for apocalypse tanks? There was no way around it. The price of the apocalypse tank was there. Each one was extremely expensive. While slightly cheaper than the US military's M1 tank, it was significantly more expensive than the Russian T-72 tank. It was truly not something that ordinary countries could afford. The price of the apocalypse tank was there. And then there was the configuration. Lin Chenran smiled faintly. One apocalypse tank will sustain our 077 machinery and military factory for several years. That's already quite good. Lin Chenran was quite open-minded about this. Then, Elder Wei continued, and then there's the matter of our Pakistani brothers. They're also obsessed with seeing the apocalypse tank, especially after your testing in Saudi Arabia in the Camel region. Their desire for this tank has reached a peak, so Lin Chenran was completely stunned. Pakistan was truly persistent. He thought to himself, no funds, yet you still want the apocalypse tank? Who gave you the courage? Fish Liang? Elder Wei, if that's the case, then your military should arrange for Pakistan to come and see the apocalypse tank. As for the price, it will definitely be more expensive than the purchase price from Saudi Arabia in the Camel region. Saudi Arabia in the Camel region invested in the initial development, so Lin Chenran offered them a more favorable price. However, if other countries wanted to purchase, the price would definitely increase. Even Pakistan couldn't purchase the apocalypse tank at a low price. After the profit distribution was settled, there were other important matters to deal with. It's still about naval affairs. Old man Zhang wanted to call you, but he learned that I came to the 077 mechanical arsenal, so he asked me to tell you about it. Hearing this, Lin Chenran immediately became interested and asked quickly, oh, what's the matter? He wants to invite you and the chief designer of your Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher to participate in the seminar on the latest missile destroyers. Lin Chenran was surprised. Old Wei, I don't have to go. You also know that I'm still in the ignorant stage of warship design and development. It's the same with or without me. At that time, our 077 mechanical arsenal will send the chief designer of the Shiansu automatic tracking rocket launcher to attend the meeting. Old Wei shook his head and said calmly, Old man Zhang will appoint you personally. You must attend this seminar in person. If you don't go, he will come to the 077 mechanical arsenal in person to invite you. I don't care whether you go or not. Anyway, I'm just a mouthpiece. Lin Chenran smiled bitterly and said helplessly, okay, I can't go. If old Zhang came to drag me over to attend a seminar on the Navy's new missile destroyer, and my father found out, there would be no shortage of violence. So why bother? Lin Chenran, I'm not a wimp. I'm acting from the heart. The second thing is the design and development of the helicopter. Old Wei said slowly, his tone serious and earnest. The domestically produced Z5 multi-purpose helicopter no longer meets the military's requirements, so we need to develop a new helicopter to replace it. There was a hint of regret in his voice as an old friend drifted away again. The Z5 is a medium-sized multi-purpose helicopter. Modeled after the Soviet Union's Mi-4 helicopter, it once played a vital role in Yan's aviation sector. However, with the passage of time, its performance has gradually fallen behind international standards. The Yan military is considering developing a new helicopter to cope with the complex international situation. The Z5 is powered by an air-cooled, radial, 14-cylinder piston 7 engine. While this engine was quite advanced at the time, it lacks both power and efficiency compared to modern high-performance engines. The maximum horsepower of the piston 7 engine is 1700. This data was considered good at the time, but it is obviously not enough for the high speed and high maneuverability tasks in modern warfare. The maximum flight speed is 210 km per hour. This speed seems a bit slow today and cannot meet the needs of rapid response and efficient combat. The maximum range is 520 km. Such endurance also limits the combat radius of the helicopter, limiting its use in long-distance missions. Maximum takeoff weight: 7,600 kilograms. Although it can carry a certain amount of equipment and personnel, it may seem powerless when faced with more complex tasks. The Z-5 helicopter can no longer meet the needs of the military, not to mention that this helicopter was discontinued in 1980, 4 years ago. Therefore, the development of a new helicopter has become a top priority. Lin Chenran was puzzled. Mr. Wei, if you want to design and develop a helicopter, you should go to Harbin Aircraft Industry Corporation. The Z-5 helicopter was manufactured by Harbin Aircraft Industry Corporation, based on the Russian Mi-4 helicopter. They have a relatively complete production line 6 and rich experience in aircraft manufacturing. Haha, this is to see if your 077 mechanical military factory has the ability to manufacture helicopters. Mr. Wei said with a smile. Lin Chenran was speechless. If the 077 mechanical military factory really has the ability to manufacture helicopters, or can help solve some of the problems, it will promote the research and development of helicopters in Yan country. No, I remember that last year the military spent $150 million to purchase technical data and some parts of the S-70C Black Hawk General Transport helicopter from the Eagle Source. Lin Chenran said slowly. Since Yan country and the Eagle Source are still in the honeymoon stage, it directly purchased 24 Black Hawk helicopters from the Eagle Source. Chapter 120, A Big Fall on the Black Hawk Helicopter. Upon hearing this, Elder Wei sighed deeply and said solemnly, you should be aware of the situation regarding the 24 Black Hawk helicopters we purchased. It turned out that the Black Hawk helicopters my country had purchased were not military versions, but rather improved civilian versions. While the Black Hawks were equipped with new engines, significantly improving their high-altitude performance, as civilian versions, they lacked weapon mounts, rendering them incapable of carrying weapons. While these Black Hawks were used for critical missions in snowy areas, such as search and rescue, airlifting supplies, and disaster relief, their lack of combat capability undoubtedly diminished their usefulness. This also meant they could not be used to replace the Yan military's aging Z-5 helicopters. The Yan military began considering how to use the Black Hawk as a template for imitation. They hoped to create a helicopter with similar performance, but also capable of carrying weapons, to meet national defense needs. Elder Wei has the plan to replicate the Black Hawk encountered significant obstacles. Lin Chenran pressed cautiously. If it weren't for this reason, Elder Wei wouldn't have specifically inquired about whether his own 077 machinery and arsenal had designed and developed a new helicopter. Elder Wei nodded, his face heavy. The Black Hawk helicopter's replication has indeed encountered obstacles. His brow furrowed. As an advanced piece of military equipment, the Black Hawk's complex structure and highly confidential technical measures make replication extremely difficult. It has built-in mechanisms to prevent reverse engineering, ensuring that its technology cannot be easily copied. For example, some systems self-destruct upon disassembly, making replication extremely difficult. Furthermore, the Black Hawk's composite materials are extremely complex, making them difficult for Yan State to replicate. These factors have led to unprecedented challenges in replicating the Black Hawk. Faced with this situation, two different opinions emerged within the Yan State military. Some senior officials believed that resources should continue to be invested in the development of the Black Hawk. After all, the helicopter had already demonstrated its powerful performance, and mastering its technology would greatly enhance Yan State's military strength. Others advocated for independent development of a new helicopter, resolving technical challenges through in-house efforts and innovation, and avoiding over-reliance on foreign technology. Each view had its supporters, sparking a heated debate. After listening to Elder Wei's introduction, Lin Chenran frowned. Successfully copying the Black Hawk helicopter was a near impossible task. In his previous life, From the introduction of Black Hawk helicopters in 1984 to the creation of his own domestically produced Z-20 helicopter, a long time had passed, yet a copy of the Black Hawk had still not been achieved. So he decided to ask Elder Wei what the Yanjiuo military leaders thought. Elder Wei, which option do you support? Understanding the Yanjiuo military support was crucial. At the very least, one needed to understand the cause in order to prescribe the right remedy. Elder Wei sighed and replied, Lin, when we first imported the Black Hawk helicopters from the Eagle source, we were hoping to copy them. But we underestimated the difficulty. The Black Hawk helicopters are equipped with multiple mechanisms to prevent reverse engineering. Some of these systems automatically destroy themselves if they fail, making it impossible for us to copy them. Elder Wen's tone was filled with regret and resignation, as if he deeply regretted this fact. They had originally assumed that importing the civilian Black Hawk helicopters would be a problem, as long as they could be brought back to China and copied. As a result, they suffered a major setback with the Black Hawk helicopter, which is almost impossible to imitate. Since it cannot be imitated, let's develop it ourselves. Lin Chenran said with a smile and full of confidence. There is really no point in imitating the Black Hawk helicopter. It will be automatically destroyed in an instant. Although the Black Hawk helicopter has excellent performance, it is one of the helicopters with the most accidents due to various technical problems. So Lin Chenran's idea is to develop a new type of helicopter instead of imitating the Black Hawk helicopter. There is no point in imitating the Black Hawk helicopter. Develop it yourself. Old Wei did not expect Lin Chenran to have the idea of developing a helicopter himself, and the other party was so pessimistic about imitating the Black Hawk helicopter. You are also not optimistic about imitating the Black Hawk helicopter? Old Wei asked directly. Mr. Wei, you also know that the Black Hawk helicopter has a built-in self-destruct device that cannot be reverse engineered unless we can find the self-destruct device and remove it. But we don't know how many self-destruct devices the other party has installed on the Black Hawk helicopter, and whether these self-destruct devices are linked. Lin Chenran did not recommend copying the Black Hawk helicopter because he knew it could not be copied, and in the end it would be a waste of time and effort. Lin Chenran's words silenced Mr. Wei, who was standing beside him. This is the fact. Since the Eagle source has installed so many self-destruct devices on the Black Hawk helicopter, isn't it just to prevent the Yan country from purchasing it and then copying it? Obviously, Mr. Wei was also persuaded by Lin Chenran. He decided not to worry about copying the Black Hawk helicopter. Since it cannot be copied, then design, develop and manufacture it by ourselves. At least the Yan country has a certain foundation for the design and development of helicopters. After obtaining foreign exchange support from the 077 Mechanical Military Factory, they will have capital to invest in the design and development of helicopters. Lin, can your 077 Machinery and Military Factory design and develop a helicopter? If they were capable, Elder Wei hoped that the 077 Machinery and Military Factory would participate in the development of domestically produced helicopters. Elder Wei, if I say I'm capable, would you think I'm bragging? Lin Chenran hesitated and asked cautiously. Really capable? Elder Wei was completely surprised. He hadn't expected Lin Chenran to give such an answer. Yes, we can even make aircraft, so a helicopter shouldn't be a big problem. Lin Chenran assured him confidently. Great, great. Elder Wei was extremely excited upon hearing this. This was the best news he had heard so far. He hadn't expected the 077 Machinery and Military Factory to actually design and develop a helicopter. And now Lin Chenran confidently assured him that the 077 Machinery and Military Factory was capable of designing and developing a helicopter. I'm waiting for your 077 Machinery and Military Factory to design and develop a helicopter plan, Elder Wei said with a smile. No problem. Just wait and see our helicopter design and development plan from the 077 machinery arsenal. We will definitely not disappoint the military. Lin Chenran already had a rough idea of the design and development direction. Since the matter had been settled, Elder Wei left the 077 machinery arsenal with satisfaction and returned to hold an internal high-level meeting. Chapter 121. Traveling through the heavens, arriving in the world of Pacific Rim. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, a week had already passed. During this time, representatives from various countries interested in purchasing the tanks flocked to the 077 machinery and military factory in Yan State to inspect and learn about the Apocalypse tanks. These representatives expressed strong interest in the Apocalypse tanks on display at the 077 machinery and military factory, but were less than impressed with the price. It turned out that the price of these Apocalypse tanks was 5% higher than the price paid by Saudi Arabia in the Luocho region. Many representatives expressed difficulty accepting this price, believing the high cost to be prohibitive. Some even chose not to cooperate with the 077 machinery and military factory. Faced with this situation, Lin Chenran demonstrated an open-minded and tolerant attitude. He proactively recommended the Type 80 tank, produced by a sister tank factory, the 617 machinery and military factory, to representatives from countries that found the price prohibitive. While this tank lacked the impenetrable armor of the Apocalypse tank, as a second-generation main battle tank, it still offered formidable combat capabilities. The Type 80 tank offered a significant price advantage over other second-generation main battle tanks. Not only was it affordable, but it was also durable, powerful, and boasted near first-rate armor protection. Its exceptional value for money attracted many representatives who hadn't purchased the Apocalypse tank. Consequently, these representatives turned their attention to the 617 machinery and arms factory, and began negotiations with them to discuss future cooperation. Lin Chenran's generosity prompted Mr. ZHU from the 617 machinery and arms factory to repeatedly call to express his gratitude. "You truly are the god of wealth, so effortless bringing so many orders to our 617 machinery and arms factory." Lin Chenran saw no big deal. Since some countries couldn't purchase the Apocalypse tank, they could recommend the client to the 617 machinery and arms factory. As the old saying goes, meat rots best in the pot. This prevented the waste of resources. Since they didn't have the funds to purchase the Apocalypse tank from the 077 machinery and arms factory, they could instead purchase the Type 80 tank from the 617 machinery and arms factory. Lin Chenran's decision was a wise one. Through his clever arrangement, he met the needs of various countries while promoting the development of domestic machinery and armament factories, achieving a win-win situation. After all, the military procurement funds from these countries can't leave Yan country. After the 077 mechanical arsenal signed several contracts for the Apocalypse tank with several countries, a familiar mechanical voice suddenly echoed in Lin Chenran's mind. Lin Chenran smiled faintly, thinking to himself, sure enough, the system reward has arrived. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host on the huge success of the Apocalypse tank designed and developed by the host in the military market, with cumulative sales reaching $500 million US. Reward, one opportunity to travel through the heavens. The system's mechanical voice sounded like heavenly music to Lin Chenran. Every reminder was a generous reward, which filled him with immense excitement and excitement. This was truly cool. Lin Chenran couldn't wait to use this opportunity to travel through the heavens. Immediately, he quickly instructed his assistant, Xiao Liang, that he needed to think quietly in the office. No matter what happened, he should not be disturbed. If there was an emergency, he could consult Elder Song for help. Although Xiao Liang was puzzled by the factory director's request, he carried out the order without hesitation. Lin Chenran excitedly locked his office and shouted excitedly, "System, use the interstellar travel opportunity." He rubbed his hands together as he spoke, his eyes gleaming with anticipation, as if he couldn't wait to plunge into the adventure of interstellar travel, experience the customs and cultures of different worlds, and trade various magical items. Soon, the system responded with a swift, "Do you want to travel through the universe?" Two options appeared on the screen, yes or no. Lin Chenran nodded without hesitation and said, "Yes." As Lin Chenran responded, a powerful force suddenly surged over him like a surging wave. Lin Chenran immediately felt a strong suction, sucking him in like a black hole. A moment later, Lin Chenran left his office and disappeared without a trace. When Lin Chenran opened his eyes again, he was surprised to find himself in a completely unfamiliar environment. The surroundings were completely different from his familiar office, filled with the unknown and the new. All around him was a bustling city street, with tall buildings standing tall. A massive mecha warrior slowly trudged past, its cold metallic gleam gleaming, each step carrying a heavy thud, drawing gasps and cheers from the crowd. Giant robot? What world is this? Lin Chenran learned from the system that he was currently in the world depicted in the movie Pacific Rim. In this world, Blue Planet faces an unprecedented crisis. Gigantic monsters have arrived from a wormhole deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, bringing destruction and terror, wreaking havoc on human citizen lives. To defend against these enormous alien monsters, humanity has launched a military program called Skewers, jointly creating numerous giant mecha warriors. These mecha warriors, equipped with powerful weaponry, are capable of engaging in fierce combat with the monsters. Lin Chenran, after learning about this world, felt a surge of joy. He realized that in this world, he could not only obtain helicopter technology, but also have the opportunity to obtain data on some of the giant mechas. The two giant mechas Lin Chenran had just witnessed were the Dangerous Wanderer, developed by Future Eagle, and the Storm Crimson, developed by Future Yan Nation. If Lin Chenran wants to obtain helicopters and giant mechas, he must go around one person. That's right, that's General Stek Pentecost, the person in charge of the military plan of Skewer. Lin Chenran disappeared from the spot, and in an instant Lin Chenran came to the military base in Hong Kong, and saw Stek Pentecost. Lin Chenran's sudden appearance startled Stek, Dr. Herman and others who were present. How could someone suddenly appear in front of them? Who are you? General Stek woke up from his shock in the first time and asked vigilantly. Lin Chenran smiled slightly, waved his hand, and said, "Don't be nervous, everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Lin Chenran, and I'm a time traveler. I happened to come to your world, and saw huge monsters and huge mechas. My curiosity was aroused, so I came to take a look." Everyone whispered, "Time traveler?" Dr. Herman on the side was full of curiosity and asked, "Lin, how did you travel through time? Did I come through a wormhole like the giant monster?" For this doctor, this is very important. Chapter 122, Closing the Wormhole? That's easy. Lin Chenran's face flickered with surprise at this. He hadn't expected Dr. Herman to ask such a question. But after careful consideration, Lin Chenran felt relieved. Dr. Herman, a mathematics and engineering major, had a deep mathematical background in the monster science department, and his work was to predict the frequency, number, and exact timing of giant monster attacks through in-depth mathematical research. This gave him a unique perspective on space. Lin Chenran nodded, smiling, and replied, "Yes, more or less. These monsters all arrived in your world through wormholes." Dr. Herman's eyes lit up at this, as if he had discovered a new world. His voice was filled with excitement and anticipation. "If that's the case, then you have the ability to help us close the wormhole in the Pacific?" Stek, standing nearby, also reacted quickly. His eyes fixed on Lin Chenran, a glint of excitement in his eyes, eager to hear the answer. If Lin Chenran truly possessed such an ability, it would be a tremendous boon for the human race in their world. Lin Chenran's lips curled up slightly, a hint of disdain in his expression. "Are you questioning my abilities? Closing the wormhole is as easy as eating for me," he declared confidently. Everyone erupted in excitement, their eyes gleaming with hope as they asked in unison, "Really?" However, Dr. Newton, standing nearby, was skeptical. He simply didn't believe Lin Chenran's words, believing him to be a charlatan. He speculated that Lin Chenran must have teleported here with the aid of some advanced device, convincing everyone to believe his words and pursue some ulterior motive. Newton declared flatly, "That's a lie. I don't believe it. How can humans physically travel through a wormhole?" Lin Chenran studied Dr. Newton closely, sighing inwardly. Dr. Newton was another leading figure in the monster science department, but his understanding of kaiju was clearly flawed. He advocated using telepathy, linking the human and monster brains through mecha pilots, to gain information about the monsters. Later in the story, his connection to the monster prophet's brain led him to be controlled by the monster, becoming its puppet. Thinking of this, Lin Chenran couldn't help but shake his head and sigh, thinking to himself, "Dr. Newton, you're so brilliant all your life, yet so foolish at this moment. How could you come up with such an absurd plan? It's simply foolish. Whether I have the ability or not will be clear to you later," Lin Chenran replied calmly. Then, changing the subject, he pointed out bluntly, However, your idea of dissecting the monster and connecting its brain to yours to gain information is clearly wrong. You are not the same species, and its mental power far exceeds yours. Once connected to it, you will be controlled by it and become its puppet. Lin Chenran ruthlessly rejected Dr. Newton's actions, believing that such actions would only lead him into an endless abyss. Dr. Herman, standing beside him, agreed, stating that this was the crux of their long-standing feud and incompatibility. Hearing this, Dr. Newton was instantly furious, his eyes widening as he glared at Lin Chenran, as if he wanted to devour him alive. He'd let it go if his research wasn't recognized by the others in the Monster Science Department. After all, they'd see each other often. But now a stranger disapproved of his approach and even tried to belittle him. This infuriated him, and he wanted to teach Lin Chenran a lesson. But Lin Chenran saw through him, and, with a wave of his hand, pinned Newton down. Staggering from side to side, Newton found himself standing still, his legs and feet unable to move. Terrified, he demanded, "What did you do to me? Why can't I move?" "Shut up." Newton could only utter "Arbe," and struggled, his eyes etched with terror. Newton felt a powerful force holding him down, preventing him from breaking free. His body trembled, cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and he was filled with fear and helplessness. Lin Chenran's face was expressionless, his gaze cold and indifferent, as if he were looking at an ant. A faint light flickered in his hand, as if he were in control of everything. Newton tried to plead with words, but all he could do was mutter "Arbe." His eyes were filled with despair, realizing that Lin Chenran could easily control his life and death. Those around him were stunned. They had never witnessed such a powerful display of power. They watched in silence, not daring to speak for fear of attracting Lin Chenran's attention. Lin Chenran slowly lowered his hand, and Newton's body instantly regained its freedom. He collapsed to the ground, panting heavily, his eyes filled with fear and awe. It wasn't just Newton who felt this way. The others felt the same way. Lin Chenran's strength surpassed everyone's expectations. He could withstand the wormhole's engulfment with his own body, directly crossing from another world to this one. And he could even imprison Newton with his mind. Dr. Herman suppressed his inner fear and asked tremblingly, "Lin, I hope you can help us close the wormhole and restore peace to the world." He then bowed 90 degrees. General Steck and the others beside him did the same. The appearance of the giant monster caused the human population to plummet. If the giant monsters aren't dealt with next, all of humanity on Blue Planet will be extinct. After all, the monsters are appearing more and more frequently, and in ever-increasing numbers. Closing the wormhole is fine, but I'll need something in exchange. I'm a time traveler and a trader. Only if we can strike a deal can I help you solve the wormhole problem. Lin Chenran stated his plan directly. What? A deal? No one expected this outcome. Just a deal, and then they could ask Lin Chenran for help. So simple. This is unreal. Lin Chenran nodded. A fair trade. No one owes anyone anything. General Steck Panticust asked nervously, "Lin, what do you need?" Everyone tensed. After all, this concerned the future of all humanity on this world. If Lin Chenran's needs couldn't be met, they would have to find another way to close the wormhole. But this plan had an 80% chance of failure. After all, how could these giant monsters possibly allow humans to close the wormhole? Lin Chenran smiled slightly. "I'm very interested in science and technology. I want the blueprints of the 2 helicopters you have, 5 helicopters each, and the blueprints of these giant mechas. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 123 Returning to Reality from the Pacific Rim World. General Steck Panticust and the others were astonished. They had expected Lin Chenran to make some complex or difficult requests, but they hadn't expected him to simply request blueprints for a giant mecha and a helicopter. This was a complete surprise. Information on the giant mecha might be of some use to Lin Chenran. A helicopter? To Dr. Herman and the others, it was just a bonus. Dr. Herman's voice trembled slightly as he reassured, "Lin, is this really all you need?" Lin Chenran smiled and nodded, knowing that this request wouldn't be difficult for the Monster Science Department. He simply wanted information on the giant mecha and the helicopter. General Stepanticus made a quick decision. He said gratefully, "Lin, thank you for your help. We will prepare everything you need as soon as possible." Then, General Stepanticus sent Dr. Herman ahead to prepare the relevant information. In less than 2 hours, the information Lin Chenran needed was ready, and the helicopter was also ready. Transaction begins. With this shout, a mechanical voice echoed in everyone's minds. Do you want to proceed with the transaction? Yes or no? At the same time, a dazzling golden light emanated from the items being traded. Under the stunned gazes of the crowd, Lin Chenran spoke calmly. All you have to do is select yes. General Stepanticus and the others nodded without hesitation. Yes. Immediately, the system's mechanical voice rang out again. Transaction completed. The various items within the aperture instantly vanished. Lin Chenran's lips curled up slightly, revealing a faint smile. Since the deal is done, then He gently raised a hand, a dazzling light gleaming from its palm. At that moment, the wormhole crack far away in the Pacific Ocean began to gradually shrink. At this moment, the instruments in the Monster Science Department issued a rapid beep. Beep beep, the monster wormhole crack is beginning to shrink. The computer on the console announced. Dr. Herman, instantly alert, rushed to the console and began to work busily. Dr. Herman suddenly exclaimed, "Everyone, come and see. The wormhole is closing at an astonishing speed." Hearing his cry, everyone gathered around, staring nervously at the scene before them. The crack in the wormhole shrank at an astonishing rate, as if being pulled by an invisible force. Only when the Pacific wormhole completely closed did he slowly lower his hands, a satisfied smile on his face. The deal is done. The wormhole crack has been successfully closed. He spoke calmly, his voice low, but clear enough for everyone to hear. There was a moment of silence before the crowd erupted into cheers and applause. They excitedly hugged each other, congratulating each other, tears welling in their eyes as they celebrated this historic moment. The closure of the Pacific wormhole meant that these giant monsters could no longer invade Blue Planet through it. This was a momentous victory. Humanity had finally escaped this terrifying threat. General Stepanticus quickly approached Lin Chenran and bowed deeply. "Lin, thank you so much for saving us, for saving all of humanity." He expressed his sincere gratitude. Lin Chenran waved his hand and smiled faintly, indicating that this was just what he was supposed to do. "There's a good thing and a bad thing. Which one do you want to hear?" Lin Chenran suddenly revealed a sly smile, his tone becoming playful. Hearing this, everyone was deeply curious and cast doubtful glances at him. They didn't understand why Lin Chenran suddenly said such a thing, nor did they know what these so-called good and bad things were. Good thing. Bad thing. Someone couldn't help but ask. Seeing everyone's eagerness to know the answer, Lin Chenran stopped playing tricks and said directly, "The good thing is that the wormhole has been completely closed. From now on, these giant monsters will no longer be able to invade Blue Planet through this wormhole." Hearing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Without the wormhole, monsters would no longer be able to invade Earth, and humans would no longer have to worry about being attacked by monsters. However, before everyone could rejoice for long, Lin Chenran continued, "The bad thing is that the wormhole crack is so large that during the time I closed it, a level 5 monster and 3 level 4 monsters came through the crack and are now in the Pacific Ocean." Upon hearing this, everyone's faces suddenly became solemn. Although the wormhole had closed, 4 more monsters had arrived on Earth, undoubtedly posing a formidable threat. Lin Chenran had barely finished speaking when a rapid alarm blared from the console. Beep, beep. Monsters have appeared. Dr. Herman shouted. Just as Lin said, 1 level 5 monster, 3 level 4 monsters. Everyone's mood plummeted, realizing a fierce battle was imminent. Of course, this was the best outcome compared to the initial wormhole failure, with a constant stream of monsters invading Blue Planet through it. As long as these 4 monsters were dealt with, Blue Planet would be completely free of the crisis. General Stepanticus was still considering asking for help in eliminating these 4 enormous monsters, but Lin Chenran had already vanished from their sight. Lin Chenran's voice echoed throughout the Monster Science Department. "General, you're on your own from now on. Only 4 monsters are easy for you to deal with, considering you still have so many massive mechas at your disposal? That's right, only 4 monsters. General Stek Pentecost methodically issued various orders. During the mobilization, he announced the good news to everyone. The wormhole has been completely closed. Now we only face 4 monsters. Once we defeat and slaughter them, the threat to Blue Planet will be completely eliminated. This battle, we will win. A deafening roar echoed throughout the mecha complex. Victory! 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 The hearts of everyone in the mecha complex were united, for they knew that once these 4 monsters were completely defeated, they would be completely safe, no longer living in fear every day. At this moment, Lin Chenran left the world of Pacific Rim and returned to his original world. In the system's backpack, there were blueprints for 2 helicopters, as well as prototypes. More importantly, there were blueprints for several giant mechas. Lin Chenran's lips curled up slightly. These 2 helicopters were enough to amaze everyone. One was the Chinook heavy lift helicopter, already in service with the Eagle Source. The other was the Osprey transport aircraft currently under research. Lin Chenran wanted to see what the Eagle Source executives would think of these 2 helicopters. The Chinook heavy attack helicopter is a versatile, twin-engine, twin-propeller medium/heavy transport helicopter developed and manufactured by Boeing. It boasts robust transport capabilities and a wide range of uses, capable of performing a variety of missions in complex weather conditions and challenging terrain, including battlefield resupply, personnel transport, aerial slinging, medical rescue, and disaster relief. The Chinook's design features include its unique tandem twin rotor configuration, which eliminates the need for a tail rotor, improving flight efficiency and stability, while also reducing noise and vibration. Its spacious interior accommodates a large number of personnel and equipment, and it can carry a variety of supplies and equipment via an external sling system. Chapter 124 Chinook Heavy Helicopter. A week passed like a flash, and Lin Chenran finally decided to take action. He asked his assistant Xiao Liang to invite Mr. Song. Although Xiao Liang was confused about this, he still did it. Knock knock knock. There was a crisp knock on the door. Song Xian stood at the door and asked softly, "Chenran, are you looking for me?" His voice was calm and steady. "Mr. Song, please come in." Lin Chenran heard the knock on the door and immediately put down the work at hand. He stood up and greeted Song Xian warmly and motioned him to sit down. After a while, assistant Xiao Liang came in with 2 cups of hot tea, put them gently on the table, and turned to leave. The two began to talk about work arrangements, and the atmosphere was harmonious and professional. However, Lin Chenran suddenly stood up, walked to the safe in the corner of the room, and took out a thick stack of design drawings. "What is this?" Song Xian looked at the stack of drawings handed over by Lin Chenran, his heart full of curiosity and confusion. "Mr. Song, please take a look first." Lin Chenran smiled mysteriously, with excitement flashing in his eyes. "After you finish reading it, let's continue our discussion." Song Xian suppressed his inner curiosity, took the drawings, carefully opened the folder, and began to carefully browse each page. As time went by, his face showed excitement and surprise. "This? How could it be? Chenran, what's going on? How do you have the design drawings of the Eagle Source's Chinook heavy helicopter?" Song Xian couldn't help but look up at Lin Chenran and asked anxiously, "Mr. Song, you go first. These are just some of the design drawings of the Chinook heavy helicopter. You take a look first. Wait a minute, we'll discuss it later." Lin Chenran continued to let Song Xian browse. Song Xian took a deep breath, suppressed his inner curiosity, and began to carefully browse the partial design drawings of the Chinook heavy helicopter handed by Lin Chenran. After more than 10 minutes, Song Xian roughly browsed through it, and it was indeed the design drawing of the Eagle Source's Chinook heavy helicopter. Although he had never seen the actual blueprints, his years of experience and expertise convinced him that, if they could perfect them, they could produce a Chinook helicopter identical to the one the Eagles had. More importantly, the Chinook's capabilities appeared even more advanced than those currently in service with the Eagles. Song Xian couldn't help but wonder, could these Chinook blueprints actually represent the latest iteration of the Eagles' design? He pondered, how could Lin Chenran possess such precious and confidential blueprints? The only way to unravel this mystery was to find answers from the unwaveringly calm Lin Chenran. Song Xian raised his head and gazed at Lin Chenran, expecting an explanation. However, before Song Xian could speak, Lin Chenran spoke up. "Mr. Song, there's no need to ask me how I came across these Chinook blueprints. Even if you did, I wouldn't answer. Everyone has secrets they are often reluctant to share." Since Lin Chenran had clearly stated his unwillingness to answer questions about the origins of this blueprint, there was no point in asking further. "Mr. Song, if we use this blueprint as a starting point and used our imagination and creativity to design a helicopter similar to the Chinook heavy lift helicopter, do you think we could succeed?" Lin Chenran asked bluntly. Hearing this, Song Xian's expression grew serious. After a moment's silence, he said, "Chenran, I'm not trying to dissuade you, but given the current situation at our 077 machinery and military factory, manufacturing a Chinook heavy lift helicopter is extremely difficult. While we have design drawings to refer to, that's only part of the story. Transforming it into a real product requires resolving many technical challenges." Song Xian spoke, examining the design drawings on the table. He continued, "First, we need a team of highly qualified aeronautical engineers to participate in the research and development. But as you know, we currently lack a sufficient number of specialized personnel within our factory, which undoubtedly poses a huge challenge to this project. Even if we had such talent, they would need time to research and master the relevant technical knowledge. After all, you only have a small number of Chinook heavy lift helicopter design drawings. Also, there's another key issue, funding. Of course for us, that's relatively simple. Developing such a high-end piece of equipment requires a significant amount of capital, but the 077 machinery and military factory has plenty of it. Therefore, the third challenge is the easiest to solve, while the first two are more difficult." Lin Chenran smiled slightly at this. "Mr. Song, I can solve all the problems you mentioned. The first problem, directly recruit a group of talents. Ask the Yan country military for help directly, and let the aviation military factory that is about to go bankrupt merge with the 077 mechanical military factory. Harmony is beneficial to both sides. The 077 mechanical military factory obtains aviation talents, and the bankrupt military factory can survive in another form. The lives of the workers in the military factory that is about to go bankrupt can be guaranteed." Lin Chenran believes that the Yan country military will absorb the aviation military factory that is about to go bankrupt to the 077 mechanical military factory. It is eager for it. It can help it solve some of the troubles. The second problem is simpler. Because Lin Chenran has all the design and development drawings of the Chinook heavy helicopter. When the time comes, Lin Chenran will take them out bit by bit. Since their own factory director Lin Chenran can solve all problems, then the Chinook heavy helicopter is no problem for their 077 mechanical military factory. "Mr. Song, I want you to help me find a top aerospace talent in China to lead this project." No, it should be two. Because Lin Chenran also has a helicopter project in hand, the Osprey transport aircraft. 2. Song Xian was puzzled. Does this require two heavyweight, top aerospace talents? Yes, two top talents. I'm also conceiving a multi-purpose central helicopter and need another top talent to take the lead. Lin Chenran smiled faintly, as if designing a helicopter was a very simple matter. Another one. You conceived and designed a multi-purpose helicopter? I thought Lin Chenran was very good at designing army weapons, but I didn't expect that he could also design helicopters. Amazing. This is not a genius. This is a genius. Then, Song Xian introduced two top aerospace talents to Lin Chenran. It's too difficult to dig them out. Lin Chenran heard this and instantly got a headache. Chapter 125. Mr. Wei, damn, I can't invite you. Song Xian smiled faintly. How can it not be difficult? He paused and said, you also know that domestic research on helicopters has always been slow, and there is a severe shortage of talent. Lin Chenran nodded in understanding. I don't know if the other party will be interested in our makeshift team that hasn't even been established yet. After saying this, Lin Chenran smiled bitterly and shook his head helplessly. He knew in his heart that this invitation was very difficult, but he had to try. Then, Lin Chenran took a deep breath and called the head of the Yan State Military's Equipment Department, Mr. Wei. Soon, a hearty laugh came from the other end of the phone. "Lin boy, you actually called me. That's a bit surprising." Hearing this familiar voice, Lin Chenran's mouth curled up slightly and said, "Hello, Mr. Wei." Then, Mr. Wei seemed to have guessed Lin Chenran's intention and gave him a vaccination directly, smiling slightly. "If you want to ask me to do something, just say it, but I may not be able to help." Hearing this, Lin Chenran smiled bitterly. "Mr. Wei, you don't have to reject me so quickly. You have to listen to my needs." Mr. Wei hesitated for a moment, then cursed directly. "You kid, you really don't come to the temple for no reason. You come here to ask for support as soon as something happens." Lin Chenran smiled bitterly and thought to himself, "I really have been guessed at my thoughts. Go ahead." Mr. Wei asked the other party to state his demands, because Lin Chenran had helped him several times before and did not embarrass him. "Mr. Wei, our 077 mechanical military factory has begun to prepare for the project of a new type of helicopter and is ready to start the design and development." Lin Chenran started by throwing out a trick to let Mr. Wei know that he was looking for him because of the new helicopter project. Really? Mr. Wei didn't expect that the 077 mechanical military factory would start the project of a new type of helicopter so quickly. Absolutely true, but Lin Chenran paused deliberately, which made Mr. Wei on the other end of the phone anxious. How could there be a first sentence, but no second sentence? But what? All the little thoughts in Mr. Wei's heart were aroused. "You kid, if you have something to say, come on. If you don't have anything else, then I'll hang up. I have a meeting to prepare to start here." Mr. Wei was ready to hang up the phone without hesitation. No, Mr. Wei, don't. I haven't finished yet." Lin Chenran said hurriedly. "You know our 077 machinery arsenal isn't very well off, so I need the military to help me find some aerospace talent," Lin Chenran said sincerely. "Otherwise, it'll be difficult for our 077 machinery arsenal to continue its helicopter project. You need people." Elder Wei frowned, lost in thought. He was under the impression that the 077 machinery arsenal was indeed short of aerospace talent. "So what do you think?" Elder Wei didn't agree directly, but instead passed the buck back to Lin Chenran, asking him to speak his mind. "Elder Wei, I'm thinking of some third-tier aerospace factories that are struggling. We could absorb them and make them part of our 077 machinery arsenal." Lin Chenran stated his request directly. He knew that if the 077 machinery arsenal wanted to build on its helicopter project, it would require a group of aerospace talent. An aviation factory that's about to go bankrupt. Elder Wei was stunned by this request. This was a rather thorny issue. After all, he was an experienced leader with a general understanding of the military factories under his command, and he quickly regained his composure. After some thought, Elder Wei finally came up with two aviation military factories on the verge of bankruptcy. They were a perfect fit for the needs of the 077 machinery military factory, practically tailor-made for it. 811 Aviation Military Factory and 092 Aviation Military Factory. These two should meet your needs, Elder Wei said. Remember 811, 92. Hearing these two names, Lin Chenran fell into deep thought. He carefully recalled the information about the two military factories. Yes, they were not far from the 077 Machinery Military Factory, both in Linjiang Province. Both the 811 and 092 Aviation Military Factory had glorious histories, but for various reasons, they were now facing difficulties and were on the verge of bankruptcy. Elder Wei continued, these two aviation military factories still have a solid foundation, but they are struggling to transition and are now on the verge of bankruptcy. Elder Wei, then these two military factories. We at the 077 Machinery Military Factory will not treat them unfairly, Lin Chenran assured Elder Wei directly. No problem. I'll have the military issue a notice. And you should also be prepared to take over. This was a win-win situation for everyone. It would not only resolve the issues at the 811 and 092 aviation arms factories, but also increase aerospace talent for the 077 Machinery Arms Factory, killing two birds with one stone. The Yanjiuo military was more than happy to do so. No problem. I'll issue a notice. We will definitely not let the 811 and 092 aviation arms factories suffer. Lin Chenran replied affirmatively, patting his chest. Then, Lin Chenran asked Elder Welly again for someone. This time, not just a large number of aerospace talents, but top-tier aerospace talents. Upon hearing this, Elder Welly immediately scolded Lin Chenran. How dare you covet them? What's the matter? So arrogant? Lin Chenran was referring to Wang Shikan and Yao Zicheng, two top-tier aviation talents. Wang Shikan, in particular, was a Yanji helicopter technology expert and aviation educator. He was a pioneer in China's helicopter technology, one of the founders of the helicopter profession, and a leading academic figure. He was known as the father of the Yanji helicopter. Now Lin Chenran shamelessly asked Mr. Welly to help invite Mr. Wang to come to the 077 Mechanical Military Factory to become the chief engineer of their helicopter project. Who gave you the courage? Another top aviation talent, Yao Zicheng, is a designer at the Shenfei Military Factory with rich design experience. Will the Shenfei Military Factory let him leave and then join the 077 Mechanical Military Factory? No need to think about it. Lin boy, have you been a little bit arrogant recently? I can't do it. I can't do what you asked. Mr. Welly refused righteously. No. Mr. Welly, only if you take action will Mr. Wang and Mr. Yao have the possibility to come to our 077 Mechanical Military Factory as chief engineers. You don't want our factory's helicopter project to be ruined. Also, I have a lot of new ideas, and this time our 077 Mechanical Military Factory has invested heavily to design and develop 2 helicopters at one time. In order to invite Wang Shikan and Yao Zicheng to the 077 Mechanical Military Factory, Lin Chenran also tried his best. What? Lin, you're right, aren't you? Your 077 machinery arsenal is developing 2 helicopters simultaneously? Hearing this, Elder Welly found it incredible. How could this be possible? Who gave you the courage? With no talent, you boasted about developing 2 helicopters simultaneously. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.